Right off the bat, the invaders wiped out humanity's forces without mercy, bringing about the end of the world. In the midst of the destruction, our hero and his companion watch the chaos, taking a deep breath. Outraged by the situation, the blonde knight asks if they're the only two left alive. Without beating around the bush, the purple-haired mage says that unfortunately, all their other comrades have already kicked the bucket. Not even the strongest warriors stood a chance against this insane threat. The warrior then asks the girl to give him her full support, leaving her confused about his plan. But without backing down, the blonde knight adjusts his shield and says his intention is more than obvious. Facing the giant monster in red armor, our boy announces he's going to land a decisive blow on the beast. Desperate, the mage reminds him that not even everyone together could scratch the creature, but the boy insists he's not running away now. Unleashing a sinister golden aura, the knight prepares a divine light technique in his sword. With all his life force, he activates the 10th form of his combat style, shining like a beacon. Faced with such power, the purple-haired girl realizes her partner really hasn't thrown in the towel. Flying towards the red giant, our hero goes on the attack with everything he's got. The colossal enemy quickly raises its hand, channeling destructive magic to crush its opponent. With fire in his eyes, the blonde knight charges toward the danger without a shred of fear. In the direct collision, the golden sword clashes against the red fist, generating a massive explosion. From the impact, you can tell the power struggle is tearing the entire landscape apart. In the middle of the brawl, the knight shouts his companion's name, asking for cover. Promptly summons a green magic circle and takes on the support role. Without holding back, she fires emerald energy blasts at the giant's back while the MC holds the front line. But the massive monster shows no mercy and unleashes a colossal crimson beam, swallowing their attacks. Thrown far by the impact, our boy slides across the destroyed ground. Refusing defeat is the only option, and he charges forward again, his weapon glowing even brighter. In a supreme golden strike, he tries to tear through the creature's armor once and for all. Shocked by the scene, the girl praises the incredible power of his secret technique. But to everyone's despair, the Dark Knight defends against the ultimate attack as if it were nothing. Pushing himself to the limit, our boy declares the fight isn't over yet. Blood spurts from his mouth, showing that his body is already on the verge of total collapse. In a panic, the mage warns that the blonde knight's body won't hold out much longer. Even while trembling and nearly falling, the hero refuses to give up the battle. At that moment, the purple-haired girl makes a drastic decision as she sees the situation worsening. From her clothes, she pulls out a mysterious item, preparing her final trick. Activating a prison of green light, she immobilizes her own partner, who is left completely clueless. Very seriously, says she won't let him perish there, as he is the world's last hope. Furious, the blonde knight yells that if they don't take down that monster, everyone's a goner anyway. Unfazed, his partner explains that's exactly why she's passing the torch to him to change this reality. She then reveals a pocket watch, showing it to be a magical artifact passed down through her family for generations. The girl says there's no time to explain the details. In a desperate plea, she begs our hero not to let these fiends win next time. Suddenly, the image of a giant clock appears in the air, causing the knight to panic and ask what the heck she's doing. Ignoring the boy's pleas to let him fight, she places their fate in his hands as her final gambit. A gigantic scarlet summoning circle then completely swallows the mage. With a sad smile, she gives her battle partner one last goodbye. Immediately, a pillar of blue light tears through the skies, signaling that the forbidden spell has been activated. In the end, a brutal explosion consumes everything around, ending the brawl just like that. Left behind on the ground, the magical pocket watch is the only thing that remains of the girl. Cracks begin to spread across the destroyed soil around the item. On the scorched earth, coughing up blood, someone tries to survive the apocalypse. Completely spent, the purple-haired mage murmurs in relief that her crazy plan worked. Now, the true face of the mystical artifact of the gods reveals the broken power of reincarnation. Our hero's soul is sent back through space to the past to live a completely different life. Filled with rage, the red monster is left behind as temporal magic distorts reality. Powerless, the partner collapses to the ground, praying that the knight can change their destiny. Before being vaporized by the villain's final blow, the girl's last thought is the hope of winning the blonde knight's heart in the next life. Leaping out of bed, our hero wakes up shouting his friend's name and finds himself in a luxurious mansion. With a splitting headache, the boy now has black hair and is sitting in a lavish room. Utterly confused, he deduces that he's in a noble's house and that this is the result of the magic. Under the covers, the young man tries to understand the craziness that just happened to him. A cute maid quietly opens the door, asking if everything is all right. Like a madman, the boy orders the servant to prepare a weapon to fight the invaders, leaving her to think it was just a nightmare. He finds it strange to be called No and questions the identity of the girl, who introduces herself as Lydia, his personal maid. Looking at his own hands, he notices that something is very wrong with his physique. It's obvious that this scrawny body is definitely not his original one. The question arises in his mind whether he possessed some random person or if the rabbit hole goes deeper. He grabs the maid by the shoulders, desperately demanding to know where he is and who he really is. Frightened by his outburst, the poor girl backs away, asking if her master is delirious with fever again. With patience for her story, the dark-haired boy yells at her to just answer the question. Scared to death, the girl explains that he is the fourth son of the noble Dasker family. He then asks for the current year and is shocked to discover they've returned to 850. With the math in his head, the hero understands that he has been reincarnated exactly 10 years before the apocalyptic war begins. On his knees in despair, he weeps for being reborn into the world's most evil and wicked family of magic swordsmen. To break the tense atmosphere, someone knocks on the door and introduces herself as Selena. With a tray in her hands, another maid enters, announcing she has brought the young master's medicine. The servant quickly adds that Master Scar prepared the potion personally out of pure concern for the boy's health. With a grim look, our new hero stares at the bowl, suspecting that something is very fishy. With his eyes glowing a shade of purple, our MC analyzes the suspicious liquid in the bowl. Without a second thought, he throws the container on the floor, startling the maids. At that moment, a group of goons enters the room as the dark-haired boy asks who the intruders are. With a cynical look, their leader replies that they came to check on a strange noise. But the hero's sharp gaze tells him he's not buying that excuse. Feigning indignation, the intruder complains about the waste of Master Scar's goodwill and says they'll bring another dose. Mocking them, the boy laughs and asks if they've completely lost their minds. He then challenges the goons to drink the so-called potion, since it's actually pure poison. Thanks to his experience with holy energy, the young man explains that the liquid's color change gave away the trap instantly. Losing his patience, the leader's face darkens, and he warns that they'll force him to drink it. A smug smile appears on the MC's face as he sees their masks fall. All too calmly, he comments that he felt insulted they sent mere lapdogs to deal with him. Cracking his knuckles, the dark-haired boy decides to mess with the assassins a bit. Immediately, the gang leader orders his henchmen to restrain the young master. Ready for their cowardly act, the lackeys draw their swords and advance towards the bed. One of the goons quickly tries to grab the boy's arm by surprise, but the response comes in the form of a well-aimed kick that sends the enemy flying. The lackey takes a hard blow to the chin that makes his teeth chatter. Furious, another assassin tries a cross-punch but whiffs miserably. Seizing the opening, our hero lands a brutal counter attack right in the guy's chest. Despite the blows, the dark-haired boy realizes he couldn't knock out his targets on the first try. It's clear that this new body is too weak, and the question of why he was being poisoned grows stronger. Ignoring the casualties, the leader orders them to finish the job, even if it means hurting the boy. Suddenly, a holographic window pops up out of nowhere in the MC's vision. It displays the enemy's stats as the young man advises the guys to give up. Reading the panels, he realizes he's gained a super, rare appraisal skill. He instantly confirms that his opponents are just level 1 novice swordsmen. Annoyed by his audacity, one of the lackeys leaps forward, delivering a vertical slash with his sword. As agile as ever, the hero dodges the slashing attack by a hair's breadth. Right after, the punk receives a devastating knee to the stomach, knocking him out on the floor. Without missing a beat, the MC steals the sword from the fallen enemy. He then engages in a blade clash, sending sparks flying everywhere. With incredible precision, he blocks a cowardly attack coming from behind. In an instant, the room turns into an intense battlefield, with the maids fleeing in desperation. Tripping over their dresses, the girls try to escape the danger zone. Clapping his hands, the leader praises the family's bloodline, while the boy tells him to stop watching and get in on the action. At that exact moment, a bizarre sensation takes over the young man's body. A sinister purple aura explodes from his sword, revealing the use of a demonic core. This dark energy is the root of the exclusive power of the swordsman of that noble house. Unlike his past life where he used holy light, now his power is purely from the darkness. These two forces clash violently within a single host. Taking advantage of the boy's confusion, the enemy leader notes that the energy has finally gone out of control. Cynically, he reveals that the medicine was a trigger to make the demonic core explode. Now, the hero's body is being devoured by the uncontrolled aura due to the strain of combat. Aware that he'll turn to dust if he does nothing, the MC decides to bet everything on the physical endurance of this new body. In an unprecedented event, the two opposing energies begin to glow together in a crazy spiral. With a straight face, the dark-haired boy claims he will use his old holy core to suppress the dark power. Finding all this a joke, the villain draws his sword and charges, calling the technique useless. Activating a special dark move, the enemy dissolves into a red cloud in mid-air. As if by magic, the assassin appears from behind, ready for the final strike. Turns out, our boy defends the cowardly attack with just one hand and without breaking a sweat. Completely shocked, the leader doesn't understand how the target reacted in time and even used the mixed demonic power. Using his skill, the hero discovers the guy is level 3 and promptly tells the trash to know his place. Pushing the rival back with brute force, the MC creates some space. He immediately launches a crescent-shaped slash, destroying the room's floor. The assassin barely manages to slink into the shadows to avoid being cut in half. Clash again, mixing golden and red sparks everywhere. In an insane sequence of blows, the fight speed increases dramatically. Even in his weak body, the MC's war experience allows him to crush his opponent with ease. Unable to keep up, the leader ends up with a deep gash on his leg. Standing his ground, the hero analyzes that the exchange of blows was enough to understand the limits of this trash. Mockingly, he asks where all the villain's bravado went, now that he's panting like a tired dog. With a cold smile, he notes that the guy even lost his polite tone, and is starting to panic. Taking the bait, the assassin calls the boy a brat and charges forward, blind with rage. Screaming like a madman, the enemy swears the target will never be able to read his escape technique. Once again, the coward dissolves into the blood-red mist, thinking he's invisible. Right in the center of the room, the MC closes his eyes and just feels the flow of energy around him. In the blink of an eye, the hero's insane perception locks onto the blind spot. With a perfect spin, he delivers a sword strike directly into the empty space, hitting the guy dead on. The impact of the blade splatters the villain's blood everywhere, breaking the illusion technique. On his knees and all messed up, the leader mutters, not understanding how he was discovered. In a teaching moment, the young master explains that hiding the body is useless if the demonic presence keeps leaking out. Coughing up a lot of blood, the defeated man mutters, asking what kind of bizarre power that was. Resting the sword on his shoulder, the dark-haired boy shrugs, saying that even he can't quite explain it. In his mind, however, it's clear that the fusion of holy light and demonic aura has created something absurdly broken. Mixing his original holy core with this new body's demonic core results in a wicked combination. If he could master this bizarre force, our MC believes he could save the world once more. In a moment of nostalgia, he mentally thanks his former partner for this ray of hope. Just then, the maids rush into the room, desperately asking if the young master is hurt and wanting to call a doctor. To calm the girls down, the dark-haired boy says he's fine but focuses on the main problems scattered across the floor. Suddenly, a strange flying creature delivers a sealed letter directly into his hand. The maid promptly informs him that it's a direct summons from the current patriarch, Lord Victor. Opening the envelope, the boy reads that his father wants to confirm his participation in the so-called War of Succession. Completely lost, our hero wonders to himself what crazy conflict this is that everyone in the family seems to know about. Curious, he questions the two maids about the details of this internal feud. Without hesitation, the young woman replies that anyone who serves the Dasker family is obligated to know about it. She then explains that this contest is a brutal combat created to forge the family into an absolute power through the hunting of demonic cores. Basically, the siblings fight among themselves, and the winner simply rips out the loser's power to become even more OP. Scratching his head, the MC remembers that there was almost no information about the Daskors in his past life. Worried, the maid swallows hard and asks if the boy really intends to enter this family bloodbath. With a mysterious smile, the young man just says she'll find out the answer very soon. In his mind, he recalls his old glorious family, who were viewed by the public with pure reverence and envy. In stark contrast, the current Dasker lineage is a symbol of pure disgust and terror for using dark power. Even so, the current patriarch Victor Daskor is recognized worldwide as humanity's strongest swordsman. Standing in front of some giant doors, our hero decides to see for himself what this dark place is all about. Full of attitude, he enters the main hall, ready to face his new reality head-on. Walking down the red carpet, the name Noo Daskor echoes through the heavy atmosphere. In the center of the room, he announces that he has come to answer the leader's call. Looking around, the boy notices the other imposing figures present. First, he lays eyes on the eldest son, Damien, who sports heavy armor. He notices the presence of the eldest daughter, Julia, with her ice-cold posture. He sees the second son, Cease, with a look of someone who couldn't care less about anything. Further on is the second daughter, Eve, looking quite bored with the meeting. But the MC's main focus straight to the third son, Scar, the scumbag who set up the fatal potion. Filled with internal rage, the dark-haired boy confirms that this well-dressed punk was the one behind the assassination attempt earlier. To break the tension, the eldest sister comments that the rumors about the youngest's recovery were true after all. Straight to the point, the boy confirms it and says he has identified the cause of his illness, deciding to focus on sword training instead of resting. With a sharp gaze, Julia seems to analyze her younger brother's absurd audacity. Not missing the chance to humiliate him, Scar scoffs, saying a weakling like him shouldn't waste time training. In the same vein, our hero tells the coward to shut up, since he didn't have the guts to try to kill him personally. Mad with rage, the redhead calls the boy an arrogant brat and nearly attacks him right there. Immediately, the eldest brother cuts off the argument, telling them both to be quiet because time is up. In perfect sync, the announcement of Lord Victor's arrival echoes throughout the hall. Heavy footsteps descend the stairs, making the air in the place freeze with tension. All the siblings quickly bow their heads in a sign of pure respect and deep fear. Even the arrogant Scar starts to break a cold sweat just from feeling the old man's presence. Struck by the monstrous aura, our MC feels an absurd weight crushing his shoulders. Mentally, the hero remembers that this swordsman is so incredible that in his past life, no one even dared to cross the guy's path. Sporting the title of 9-star demonic swordsman, the patriarch sits on the throne, exuding destructive power. Adjusting his posture, the supreme leader notices that all the hairs are finally gathered for the show. Without any delay, the gray-haired man declares that the Council of Summons is officially open. Eye to eye, the leader asks Noah to confirm his intentions to participate in the bloody feud, and the boy accepts on the spot. In a terrifyingly curious way, the old man asks what the sick kid intends to achieve with that useless body. Always cool, the dark-haired boy gives a confident smile, as if he already has the script for victory ready in his head. Loud and clear, our hero declares that he will emerge victorious and take the absolute top spot in the Dasker family. Hearing this audacity, the patriarch's eyes widen slightly, questioning if the youngest is ready for the slaughter. With a deep voice, the leader asks if that is a declaration of war against all the candidates present. Serious and direct, our MC denies the statement, surprising everyone in the room. He then corrects himself, saying it's actually a declaration of war against absolutely everyone standing in this room. Clearly, the boy states that his targets are not just his dear blood siblings. Looking deep into the old man's soul, he declares that the patriarch himself is also on the list to be taken down. With an expression of pure insanity, the hero shows he's not there to play happy family. In response to all this bravado, the leader unleashes an explosion of purple demonic energy that shakes the entire castle. The pressure in the air is so ridiculous that the glass windows start to shatter on their own. Almost crushed by the gravity of the power, our hero grits his teeth to keep from collapsing. At his body's limit, the young man understands that this is the true demonic core of the gray-haired monster in full action. Engulfed in an aura of pure destruction, the old man questions if the brat really thinks he can overcome this divine force. Despite the brutal pain, the MC lets out a firm yes, without retreating a single millimeter in the face of danger. Intrigued by his resistance, the leader slightly lessens the aura and asks what the boy's real reason is for desiring so much power. With a dark look, our hero replies that he needs this strength to ensure no one ever steals anything from him again in the future. Excited by the ambition, a sadistic smile appears on the old demon's face. Leaning back on his throne, he admits he liked the attitude, confirming that this is the true violent nature a Dasker needs to have. Immediately, the leader declares that Noah is in the war of succession and challenges anyone who opposes it to step forward. Completely in shock, the siblings are paralyzed, lacking the courage to question the monster's final word. Focused on the youngest, the patriarch orders him to become a beast hungry for power from now on. After the tense atmosphere in the hall passes, the day dawns peacefully outside in the gardens of the luxurious mansion. In the training yard, the dark-haired boy is already decimating a wooden dummy with pure sword strikes. In a swift and violent move, he splits the target in half, demonstrating the result of his physical effort. Taking a deep breath, the hero analyzes that his body has improved a bit, but is still only at the minimum acceptable level for a real fight. Facing his own mixed aura, he identifies the worst problem: he can't perfectly use his old light techniques or the new lineage demonic strikes together. Testing this bizarre mixture, the young man wonders what the heck this power is and soon summons his status screen. Confirming his suspicion, he discovers that his new holy demonic core has bizarre temporary usage limitations. Focused on hiding this secret of combined light and darkness, the MC is interrupted by a familiar female voice, and notices that his sister Julia was watching everything. As blunt as ever, the girl throws it in his face that until now, their father only ever doted on their older brother Damien. But now the youngest has become the new favorite. Full of attitude, the dark-haired boy asks if the tough girl came here just to chat and throws a wooden sword on the ground. Smiling confidently, he kicks the weapon towards her, challenging the platinum-haired girl to a quick sparring match. Surprised by his boldness, the girl catches the sword in the air as the hero rushes towards her, shouting that the show is about to begin. Without wasting time, the sister easily defends against the MC's first strike, showing who's boss. Finding the situation amusing, the girl scoffs and asks if he thought she was just here for a stroll. Frustrated that he couldn't even make her take a step back, the boy clicks his tongue, understanding that the power gap is still massive. In the blink of an eye, the girl retaliates with a blow that sends the kid flying back, kicking up dust. Far from being shaken, the MC mentally celebrates because this fight is the perfect test to see just how much of a beating he can take. The exchange becoming insane, the two trade dozens of blows, creating a violent gust of wind across the yard. Without mercy, the woman advances, cutting through the air and forcing the boy to retreat, while she complains that his level is still pathetic. Pointing the wooden sword at her brother's face, she criticizes his lack of talent and shows her complete disappointment with his little act at the council. Checking the holographic panel, the hero confirms that his sister's stats are ridiculous, reaching the 7-star domain. Breaking a cold sweat, he praises her incredible strength, but doesn't lose his smile for a second. Disheartened by her youngest brother's frankness, she goes all out, delivering a brutal oblique cut that cracks the wooden floor. Shocked by the speed, the dark-haired boy can barely follow the movement of the sword descending towards him. Out of pure reflex, he defends with his blade, which starts to crackle, letting out bizarre sparks. In a burst of power, the sheer force of the impact sends the poor guy flying, making him curse in pain. Realizing his mistake, he notes that he ended up activating the holy, demonic core unintentionally out of a survival instinct. He immediately goes for a counter-attack, and the swords collide with such force that a shockwave sweeps through the scene. Suspicious of that purple and golden aura, the sister questions if this is the boy's famous problematic demonic core that everyone called a failure. With a judgmental look, she throws it in his face that she's known all along his power was bugged. Thinking quickly, MC realizes that no one in the family knows about his original holy magic properties. Laughing inwardly, he concludes that he can fight at full power without revealing the mixture if he pretends it's just a side effect of having a defective core. With his eyes glowing an intense purple, the boy provokes her, saying he'll prove just how much this failure can hurt. Riding the momentum, he spins his body and executes a flying charge covered in golden and dark lightning. Enjoying the challenge, the platinum-haired girl gives a sadistic smile and whispers his name, ready to return the favor twofold. In mid-air, the hero reminds the platinum-haired girl of the obvious rule of the War of Succession, where everyone wants to steal each other's demonic cores. She plants her wooden sword into the stone ground, cracking the base, and prepares for the final blow. With a terrifying blood-red aura emanating from her entire body, she macabrely asks if she can just rip out his core right there. Startled by the woman's sudden pressure, our hero's eyes widen as he senses the danger. In the blink of an eye, the maid Celine appears, running desperately and throwing her master's real sword. Catching the blade in the air, the boy thanks the servant, while his platinum-haired sister doesn't even flinch at the weapon swap. Without delay, the girl summons a typhoon of infernal flames around herself, turning into a true monster. Caught off guard by the insane heat, the dark-haired boy tries to create distance, but the woman is too fast. Sweating buckets, he tries to defend himself by holding the sword with both hands, but realizes the flames are burning everything around him. In a ridiculous display of power, she charges forward, destroying the courtyard stones just with the wind from her movement. Desperate, the MC crosses his sword over his chest, activating all the energy he can muster to withstand the blow. Smiling like a maniac, the woman praises the brat's resistance, confessing she's more impressed than usual. Pushing him back effortlessly, the platinum-haired girl screams, demanding to see all of the youngest's hidden power. Taunting the boy, she warns him that the next attack will be fatal if he doesn't give it his all to defend. Summoning her main technique, the dark flame sword dance, she focuses all the red energy into her blade, creating an insane heatwave. Realizing the overwhelming threat, the dark-haired boy concentrates every drop of energy from his mixed core into his blade, preparing his ultimate defense. In a brutal explosion, the sister fires a beam of pure crimson destruction, tearing through the air towards the kid. Without retreating a single millimeter, the MC meets the infernal blast head-on, causing the two energies to collide. The clash of power sweeps across the training ground, creating a storm of lightning and fire that forces even the maids to duck. Scoffing through the smoke, the woman asks if her dear brother planned to block that monstrous attack with just one hand. Mercilessly provoking him, she tells him to try and make her use both hands through sheer brute force. As if on cue, the platinum-haired girl vanishes and reappears behind the young man, ready to slice him up. By some ninja-like instinct, the boy spins around, managing to block the charge by crossing swords, but the pressure makes him break a cold sweat. With a heavy blow that shakes the ground, the sister forces the boy to retreat, dragging his feet through the dirt. The dark-haired boy ironically celebrates that she finally had to use both hands. With an absurd push, she sends the poor guy flying into the air like a rag doll. Gritting his teeth, the MC realizes the woman's strength is something completely out of this world. Sliding across the destroyed ground, he stops himself by activating the purple holy aura again. Watching everything, the platinum-haired sister seems somewhat curious about the golden glow mixed into the boy's demonic energy. Panting from exhaustion, the hero acknowledges that he had to push his own core to the brink just to survive the first exchange. Feeling his hands tremble violently, the kid realizes that the overuse of the holy demonic core has reached its absolute limit. Returning to a combat stance, he questions his sister about a weird rule among the Dasker family candidates. Straight up, he asks why the members don't just go around killing each other right away since they all want the cores. As calm as ice, the woman explains that the stronger a core becomes, the harder it is to level it up quickly. Basically, the family's twisted tactic is not to hunt the weak ones too early so their energies can mature. Bluntly, she states that since the youngest defended her deadly attack and even used his energy in an acceptable way, he has proven his worth. With her red eyes shining with ambition, the platinum-haired girl declares that the boy's bizarre core is now ripe for the taking. Annoyed by her arrogance, the MC clicks his tongue and prepares for the worst-case scenario. Immediately, the sister activates the 8th Grim form of the Dark Flame style, ready to finish the job once and for all. As the murderous aura explodes, covering them both, someone yells from a distance, ordering them to stop the fight immediately. In the blink of an eye, a knight in armor steps into the middle of the fire, defending the platinum-haired woman and intercepting the mortal blow with his own sword. Desperate, the intruder shouts that if she advances any further, young Master Noah will be sliced in half. The knight reminds the crazy girl that this conflict is just a contest to steal energy, not a low-level, generalized massacre. Startled at having her attack blocked, the woman stops and observes as the guardian informs her that Noah's core is only ranked at 2 stars. Tired and panting, our hero stares at the newcomer, wondering who the heck this dude is who decided to save his skin at the last second. Calmly, the brown-haired knight states that he was investigating the boy under direct orders from Master Victor. Analyzing the brawl, the instructor explains that if the MC had a 4 or 5-star core, he wouldn't be struggling at his current level. Seeing that the fight is over, the hero deactivates the purple holy aura, taking a deep breath to recover from the ordeal. Agreeing with the knight, the platinum-haired girl sheathes her weapon and admits her reading of the youngest was wrong, and that he's still a weakling. Before leaving, she warns her brother not to forget that his core is already in her sights to be stolen soon. Turning her back, she taunts him, saying that as soon as he gets truly strong, they'll fight for real, and she guarantees she'll kill him in the end. Smiling confidently, the dark-haired boy says he can't wait for that day and that he's also eager to take her power. As the woman disappears over the horizon, the knight's mind keeps hammering on the fact there's something very bizarre about the boy's energy. Based on his analysis, the blocked attack was too strong to have been defended by just a 2-star power. Reaching the obvious conclusion, the knight understands that the here is definitely hiding an ace up his sleeve. Far away in her room, the sister smiles sinisterly, seeming to enjoy the kid's development. On the mansion's balcony, she murmurs to herself, wishing for the brat to grow up fast to make the hunt more interesting. Meanwhile, in another corner of the castle, their brother Scar is freaking out with rage, breaking everything in sight and cursing everyone and their mother. Sitting on the sofa surrounded by frightened maids, the fuming redhead can't understand how the failure was authorized to participate in the succession. Seething with envy, he remembers that his father never paid him any mind and didn't even invite the trash to this so-called war. Unable to accept the humiliation, the coward kicks a glass bottle against the wall, screaming that he won't stand for this nonsense. In the middle of his tantrum, a goon quietly approaches with a report on the youngest. Hearing the gossip, the redhead gives a sadistic smile and celebrates that the information fell from the sky like a gift. Full of ill intentions, he swears on all that is holy that he will drag No through the mud and eliminate the MC from the succession. Hours later in the courtyard, the brown-haired knight finally introduces himself properly to our hero. The man says his name is Kyle, and that he was personally appointed by Lord Victor as the boy's new instructor. Explaining the situation, the teacher says the old man thought it would be too boring if the youngest died early in the contest, so he sent reinforcements. Stealthily, our MC activates his secret appraisal skill to check out the guy's stats. It's clear that Kyle is a heavy hitter, with 7 and 6-star attributes, proving he's a monster in combat. Without wasting time, the MC asks if the training will start with a beatdown, or if there's another plan. Pulling out a sealed envelope, the knight reveals he has an urgent and direct order from the patriarch himself. Reading the letter, the boy discovers that the mission is to investigate and exterminate a sinister miasma pool that has appeared nearby. The system screen glows, warning that miasma is a dangerous phenomenon and that the area will only return to normal if the Lord monster is defeated. Shrugging, the kid understands that this is the old man's perfect excuse to test him in a real field situation. Laughing inwardly, our hero finds the situation advantageous and decides to use the mission to level up his power away from the prying eyes of the mansion. Arriving in the dark forest, Knight Kyle wastes no time and slices through the smaller monsters with surgical precision. He shouts for the team to keep up the pace and annihilate all the beasts in the area before the miasma pool grows. In the background, the instructor watches as our boy brings his sword down on a bizarre creature, drawing dark blood. Whispering among themselves, some soldiers on the team mock the MC, saying he must be scared to death since he only has 2 stars of power. Ignoring the gossip, Kyle thinks to himself what on earth the Patriarch saw in this boy to assign him to a real elimination mission. Suddenly, a soldier shouts, drawing everyone's attention to the center of the clearing. Rushing to the spot, the team finds several unconscious children on the ground, and the mood turns grim. The knight addresses the group, asking what they should do now that civilians are involved. Without a second's hesitation, he decides that returning through the dangerous forest with children in their arms would be suicide, and that they need to solve the miasma pool problem first. With the crew adjusting the children on their backs, they advance through the increasingly sinister woods. Looking up at the dark sky, our hero notices that the concentration of evil energy is rising alarmingly fast. Twisted trees and a purple fog begin to swallow the landscape, signaling they've reached the nest. Focused, the MC notes that the center of the miasma pool must be nearby and that the Lord Monster is in the area. Suddenly, a massive shadow tears through the foliage, leaping towards the group. Drawing his sword, Kyle yells that it's a giant scorpia and that the situation has just gotten grim. With a massive thud, the demonic scorpion lands on the ground, and Kyle screams for the soldiers to get the children out of there, fast. Tense, the instructor explains that the miasma aura has boosted the monster to rank A and that the creature's carapace is harder than steel. In the blink of an eye, the giant tail armed with a sharp stinger comes down like a meteor towards them. On high alert, the MC yells that the attack is coming and braces for impact. The blow to the ground sends dirt and leaves flying everywhere, forcing the knight to cross his swords to avoid being crushed. Impressed by the beast's brutal strength, the instructor warns that besides being heavy, the monster is ridiculously fast. Seeing the tail aiming again, he panics, thinking our rank 2 hero is about to be turned into a pincushion. In a swift move, the poisonous tip shoots towards the boy, cutting through the air. But surprising everyone, the kid activates his mixed demonic core, creating an energy shield with his sword. With a perfect spin, he blocks the impact, dragging his boots through the dirt as sparks fly from the stinger. The force of the defense is so violent that it pushes the stinger upward, giving them a moment to breathe. Shocked, the knight shouts with joy, seeing the attack was repelled, but soon realizes that the scorpia's real weapon is something else. From the top of its tail, the scorpion fires glowing poison spikes like green missiles. Nowhere to run, the group is cornered under a deadly rain of pure poison. To make matters worse, the giant stinger starts to glow red, indicating the beast is about to charge a destructive beam amidst the chaos. Without mercy, the monster fires a wicked red laser beam straight from its stinger, trying to vaporize the group. Quick as a flash, the boy channels more hidden holy energy from his purple core to block the blast. In a massive explosion, the hero deflects the beam, cutting the attack in half and sending the energy skyward. Jaws dropped, the soldiers murmur that the kid is an insane prodigy in the art of the sword, even with his theoretically low power. But through the dust, the scorpion's tail swings again, already regenerated from the impact and ready to kill. Like a giant arrow, the monster lunges at the MC, using its full weight to crush the target. Sliding under the blow, the dark-haired boy takes advantage of the opening and slams his glowing blade against the beast's belly. Even putting a lot of force into it, he feels the sword get stuck in the creature's hard bone plates. Spinning in the air, the young man launches a sequence of divine light cuts hidden in the dark aura, causing cracks in the scorpion's armor. He then lands on the ground, panting, and digs his boot into the earth to keep his balance. Analyzing the cracked shell, he thinks that this darn beast is tough as nails. Sweating, the MC grumbles that it's hard to pierce its defense without using his original light strikes at full capacity. Meanwhile, Instructor Kyle is frozen, trying to understand where the kid got this bizarre sword technique without anyone to teach him. Without delay, the boy yells for the knight to lend a hand in the brawl instead of just standing there gawking, and he snaps to it. Ready for a combined attack, the hero asks if the teacher can create an opening for even a single second, and the guy guarantees he can handle it. Without blinking, the instructor yells in anger and charges forward as the monster recharges its lethal red beam. In a brutal move, Kyle drives his sword into the joint of the cracked carapace, making the beast roar in pain. The blow sends a jet of greenish blood everywhere, breaking the scorpion's energy concentration. Sizing the half-second opening, the hero leaps into the air, covered by the purple and golden aura of his dual core. In a lightning-fast descent, he lands on the tail, cutting off the stinger's tip with a clean strike. A black blood gushes from the wound, and the MC immediately follows up with a kick to the base of the tail to create distance. Before even touching the ground, the dark-haired boy adjusts his stance and prepares the final charge. Filling his blade with pure mixed energy, he tears through the air like a lightning bolt, cutting the beast in half. The impact of the final attack shatters the forest floor, creating a dusty crater. Crashing heavily to the ground, the giant scorpion gives its last twitches and finally dies. The beast dead, our hero sheathes his sword, sighing in relief that the crazy plan worked. Suddenly, the monster's carcass begins to dissolve into a full-smelling smoke, revealing something shiny inside. Wasting no time, the boy approaches and rips out the beast's venomous fangs, pocketing them. With a sly grin, he explains to Instructor Kyle that the venom from these fangs can melt hard carapaces and could be very useful later. Utterly dumbfounded, the teacher finally understands why the young man had been hunting the smaller spiders along the way just to stock up on this acidic material. The group barely has time to breathe before red eyes start blinking in the darkness all around them. A gigantic horde of mutant monsters emerges from the shadows, attracted by the smell of blood and the miasma pool. Immediately, the boy snaps his fingers, activating green magic seals on the ground beneath the team. Using the demonic sword style, he launches a wave of energy to push the creatures back from the front line. Blow kicks up dust and delays the horde for a few valuable seconds. Desperate, Instructor Kyle plants his sword in the earth, creating a giant purple protection barrier to shield the unconscious children. As cool as ice, the MC announces that the moment of truth has arrived and they can't retreat. With an insane leap, he dives into the middle of the monsters, cutting down spiders and wolves as if they were paper. In a sequence of absurd speed, he slices a smaller scorpion to pieces, leaving only chunks behind. The force of his slashes creates a shockwave that clears the area around the barrier. Spinning his blade, covered in hidden holy light, the hero dodges a bite and decapitates a demonic wolf. In his mind, an image of his platinum-haired sister appears as he tries to recall the details of her ultimate technique. Adapting the family's dark style, he forces his own energy to imitate the dark fire that nearly killed him earlier. On the verge of insanity, he channels everything and shouts the name of the move. A sword dance of light and shadow. In a titanic explosion of golden rays and purple aura, he fires a beam of pure destruction that sweeps through half the forest, disintegrating the monsters in its path. The flash from the impact illuminates the dark night, forcing even Instructor Kyle to shield his eyes from the glare. Chunks of carapace and blood evaporate in the air, leaving the path completely cleared by the energy blast. Sweating, the soldiers look at the damage and murmur, if that's the true strength of a rank 2 brat. Even victorious, our hero sighs in frustration, admitting that recreating his sister's move just by watching was harder than he imagined, and the result was pretty half-baked. Patting the kid on the shoulder, Knight Kyle praises the feat and offers to clean up the rest of the smaller monsters. Curious, the teacher asks where the boy is going, as he has turned his back and started walking deeper into the forest. Without looking back, the dark-haired boy just replies that he's going to solve a pending personal problem and disappears among the dead trees. Walking alone, the MC thinks that in his time, the cause of the miasma pools had not yet been discovered. But he knows the secret and states that it's all the fault of a magical artifact made to suck negative energy from the earth. Arriving in a clearing, he finds a giant, twisted tree exhaling a poisonous purple smoke. Using his sword, he slices through the tree's hollow trunk with a single, clean strike. Inside the hole, a sinister ring glows floating by itself, the true culprit behind all the trouble. With a smirk, he confirms his hunch was right and prepares to break the magical trinket. Suddenly, a scream of panic echoes from the direction where the rescue group stayed, putting the boy on high alert. His eyes widening, he grumbles a curse and starts running back, thinking things have gone south in a big way. Running at full speed, our hero cuts through the trees in his path, leaping through the shadows like a ninja. Arriving at the base camp, he sees the terror that has unfolded, with wounded soldiers and the still unconscious children exposed on the ground. Desperate, Instructor Kyle yells that something went very wrong, and the number of monsters suddenly tripled. Drawing his sword, the MC assesses the situation and sees that a red tide of bloodthirsty eyes is surrounding the entire group. Hundreds of wolves, scorpions, and other monstrosities emerge from the darkness in an endless, unstoppable horde. Facing certain doom, the soldiers panic, and even Kyle seems to be at the limit of his physical strength. To buy time, the boy goes on a rampage, spreading golden and purple rays, slicing through anything that tries to touch the civilians. The teacher doesn't fall behind either, crossing the front line and launching heavy blows against the larger beasts. Shouting for help, one of the soldiers celebrates the young master's return, thinking salvation has arrived. Focused, the dark-haired boy tells Kyle to hold the line while he deals with the horde problem in a creative way. Closing his eyes, the young man feels the strange flow of miasma energy being sucked in by the sleeping children. Analyzing it more closely, he figures out that the cursed ring is using the children as a living filter to purify the demonic energy. In the midst of the carnage, the knight screams the team won't last another 30 seconds of this massacre. Smiling, our hero announces that he's going to hack the magical artifact's flow using his own light core. Plunging his sword into the ground, he projects a giant golden energy circle, cutting the ring's connection to its creator's mind and taking control of the whole thing. With his eyes glowing intensely, he processes the reverse energy, feeling the ring's owner's presence through the magic. Deep in the forest, a masked assassin with red eyes feels the counter-attack and is startled at being discovered. Quick on the draw, the MC tells Instructor Kyle to focus only on defending the children and fall back. Meanwhile, the boy disappears in the blink of an eye, slicing through a line of orcs and wolves with ultra-fast strikes and climbing up the trees. Tracking the magic's origin, he lands heavily on a branch, facing the masked man who was controlling the entire horde. Far from the main commotion, the villain tries to hide in the shadows, but it's too late to escape. Pointing his glowing sword at the guy, the hero says he knows he's there and tells the coward to show himself. With no choice, the assassin leaps from the branch, throwing poison knives at the boy. Spinning his sword rapidly, our MC deflects the projectiles in mid-air, creating blue sparks. Landing on the ground, the villain assesses his opponent, grumbling that the punk is more annoying than the report said. Mockingly, the masked man asks if the rot of the Dasker family has already contaminated the hair for him to notice presences so easily. Calmly, the kid returns the question, wanting to know which scumbag ordered this horror show. Laughing, the enemy replies that it's obvious he won't rat out his boss, so the MC says he'll beat the information out of him. In a brutal clash, the two swords collide, generating an explosion of purple and golden energy that shakes the surrounding trees. Caught off guard by the impact, the assassin's eyes widen, stunned by the strength of that mixed demonic core. Intrigued by his own power, the dark-haired boy analyzes his glowing blade, admitting he still doesn't 100% understand how this crazy fusion works. Noticing the enemy's hesitation, the MC prepares his stance, bending his knees to pounce. Activating the shadow style, he murmurs the second form and concentrates a wicked red aura in his sword. In an instant, dozens of flying blades made of pure scarlet energy appear in the air, aimed at the masked man. Commanding the attack, he launches the storm of red swords at the target in a massive assault. Dodging like a madman, the assassin runs through the trees as the blades explode the ground behind him. Smiling with satisfaction, the boy realizes that the Dasker family's shadow technique has adapted perfectly to his core. In a burst of speed, the MC advances along with the floating swords, bringing down a brutal strike towards the villain. Crossing his daggers, the masked man blocks the blow but spits blood from the crushing impact. Not understanding a thing, the enemy checks his own status screen and sees that the hero is listed only as a rank 2 demonic core. Seeing the data, the guy deduces that the kid's sword style is far superior to his energy level. Thinking he's found a weakness, the assassin decides to keep his distance to tire the boy out gradually. Another barrage of red slashes, the dark-haired boy sees the strategy and clicks his tongue impatiently. Sliding through the mud, the coward flees from the sword's reach and starts laughing under his mask. Far from the target, the hero stops his attack while the villain prepares to return the offense with long-range magic. Mocking the situation, the masked man raises his hand and concentrates a sinister greenish energy in his fingers. At an absurd speed, he fires slashing gusts of wind that look like invisible blades at the boy. Laughing at the kid's face, the villain says that such an obvious attack is too easy to deal with. But the MC's red blades cut through the green wind, disintegrating the magic on the spot. Immediately, the hero vanishes from the assassin's sight and reappears right above him, his sword glowing a golden and purple hue. With a cold smile, the young man whispers the name of his old holy style mixed with the darkness. The aura explodes in a spiral of light and shadow, revealing the new broken technique called Dark Light Glide. Shocked, the villain barely has time to react before taking a sequence of ultra-fast cuts from all sides. Terrified, the masked man screams, recognizing the forbidden move, and asks how the heck the youngest knows how to use it. Trying to escape the sword blender, the guy jumps back, covered in blood. Giving him no respite, the dark-haired boy advances, cutting through the air and warning that the villain is too slow to try to escape now. With a clean and perfect strike, the blade slashes across the assassin's chest, splattering blood on the grass. Falling to his knees, the coward coughs uncontrollably, feeling his life drain away. Facing the defeated man, the MC explains that he learned the principles of the technique just from taking a beating from his crazy sister. In his mind, the scene of the platinum-haired girl using her dark flames flashes, and he explains that by mixing holy energy with the Dasker family's principles, he can create any absurd technique on the fly. Thinking aloud, the hero admits he could probably copy all the glorious family's techniques if he focused on the holy light. But he soon shakes his head, saying that imitation doesn't win wars, and that the true strength of this mixed power only emerges when he creates his own moves from scratch. Walking up to the fallen masked man, he points his sword at the guy's neck and demands to know who ordered the attack. Spitting blood, the assassin lets out a macabre laugh and tells the kid not to get so full of himself, just because he won a little scuffle. In a swift move, the coward bites a capsule hidden in his tooth and swallows the bizarre liquid. Eyes widening, the boy realizes the nutjob took some junk to power up his body. Beginning to tremble violently, the villain's body emits a sickly green glow, and he screams in pain. In a disgusting process, the guy's muscles tear through his clothes, inflating like balloons, and his skin turns gray. His face deforms into a monster's visage, and his eyes turn a glowing red. With a bestial roar that shakes the forest floor, the giant creature beats its chest, revealing itself. Shocked by the transformation, the MC takes a step back and deduces the guy used forbidden beastification magic. Wasting no time, the monster leaps towards the hero with claws the size of machetes. Spinning his sword, the dark-haired boy blocks the first swipe, but feels his entire arm tingle from the impact. The beast's strength is so ridiculous that it creates a crater under their feet, just from the clash. Sliding back, the MC grits his teeth, realizing the beast's speed and weight have gone to another level and that his sword will break if he keeps blocking directly. Laughing like a psychopath, the monster roars, telling the boy to show him how much of a beating he can take. In a flurry of blows, the beast advances, tearing through everything in its path and forcing the hero to just retreat and dodge. The creature's red eyes glow in the dark, locked on its target without giving a second of peace. With a claw swipe, the creature launches 3 wind blades that cut through the surrounding trees like butter. Dodging by a hair, the MC defends against the remnant of the wind with his sword and realizes things are getting ugly. Tired of running, the boy tries a counterattack, but the beast is too fast and already throws another heavy swipe. Pushed back, the hero jumps away, using the purple aura to gain momentum off the rocks. In midair, he takes a glancing blow that sends him spinning out of control. Landing with difficulty, the dark-haired boy plants his blade in the dirt to avoid face, planting and lets out a grunt of pain. Holding the sword with both hands, he understands he can't keep dodging forever and needs to create an opening urgently. Closing his eyes for a moment, he concentrates his mixed core, and the sword begins to pulse with pure divine and demonic energy. Seeing the hero standing still, the monster leaps into the sky, laughing loudly and asking if the kid has finally given up. Thinking victory is in the bag, the beast descends like a meteor, shouting that it will crush his head right there. Smiling, the MC opens his eyes, revealing a sinister glow, and announces that the show ends now. Suddenly, the boy's left hand emits an absurd white flash, blinding the monster in mid-descent. With a deafening boom, the light explodes into a perfect circular shield of magical geometry, defending against the beast's colossal swipe. Rebounded by the impact of its own force, the monster is thrown back into the sky, spinning uncontrollably and roaring in frustration. Holding his sword firmly, the MC mentally celebrates, realizing he managed to recreate the protection seals from his past life using the mixed core. Giving the enemy no slack, the boy bends his knees and leaps towards the monster, which is still trying to regain its balance in the air. Cornered and with nowhere to step, the gigantic creature is at the mercy of the attack. Pointing his blade to the sky, the hero shouts the name of his new holy, demonic sword style, ready to send the beast to heck. An incandescent golden aura covers the young man's weapon, illuminating the dark night as if it were day. With a devastating vertical cut, he invokes the single blade of dual polarity, slicing the monster in half in an explosion of pure light and darkness. The power of the blow is so absurd that it tears through the clouds and cuts the nearby trees to pieces with the force of the impact. Landing smoothly on the ground, the dark-haired boy sighs in relief, confessing that this magic defense saved his skin at the last second. Looking at his left hand, he admires the Ring of Absolute Repulsion, a broken item that nullifies heavy attacks and returns the damage as a shockwave. With the mission completed and the artifact in his pocket, he sheathes his sword and says it's time to rush back to Kyle's group before things get worse over there. Far away, the situation is chaotic, with the Knight's team being crushed by the endless horde of orcs and wolves. Panting and covered in scratches, Instructor Kyle holds his sword with trembling hands, admitting he's reached his limit and run out of strength. Seizing the opening, a gigantic orc leaps from behind the soldiers, ready to smash the teacher's head with a stone club. Pushed to the brink, the Knight screams a curse, realizing the orc's deadly club is already descending on his head. But before turning into paste, the teacher hears a metallic clang and opens his eyes, not understanding what happened. He sees the monster stone weapon stopped in mid-air, millimeters from his face, with something holding back the blow. As the dust settles, he sees the entire horde frozen or dropping dead, as if the magic had been unplugged. Panting, the instructor's eyes widen when he hears the hero's voice asking if everyone is okay. Catching his breath, Kyle stammers, confirming he survived by some bizarre miracle. Walking up to the group, the MC calmly announces that he has already solved the problem and eliminated the culprit who was controlling the beasts. Showing the masked man's bloody gloves, the boy says he took down the target, but still doesn't know who ordered the attack. In the middle of the clearing, the children begin to wake up, coughing and crying, easing the team's tension. Looking at the saved children, the hero gives a satisfied smile, feeling that the mission was worth it. Back at the Dasker family mansion, the day dawns peacefully, but our boy's mind is racing. Consumed by guilt, he remembers that innocent children almost perished because of the succession dispute, and that doesn't sit well with him. Focused on finding the scumbag who set up the ambush, the MC recalls an important detail about his sister Eve. Known throughout the family, the girl is the official information broker, and surely knows who was behind the masked man. Walking through the garden with long strides, the hero crosses paths with his brother Sees, who immediately puts a hand on his sword and tells him to stop right there. Acting tough, the blonde brother warns that not even family is allowed to enter Evie's area without an invitation. Face to face in the courtyard, the tension rises, and the MC doesn't seem keen on turning back. In the hero's mind, he confirms that his mysterious sister is the only hope of finding the truth quickly. From everything he's heard from the maids, she definitely knows who ordered the murderous ambush. With no patience for games, the kid activates his mixed demonic core and advances, telling his brother to get out of the way. Laughing, the blonde man draws his daggers and says that as Eve's bodyguard, he can't let a bloodthirsty maniac pass. Tauntingly, Sees throws it in his face that he doesn't trust the youngest one bit, that they'll have to settle this with a fight. Clenching his fists, our hero understands that the diplomatic route is out the window and prepares his sword. Shing the purple and golden aura. He yells that he'll clear a path by brute force, without mercy. With a sadistic smile, the bodyguard cracks his neck, accepting the challenge, and gets into an attack stance. In the blink of an eye, the two charge forward, tearing up the stone ground and brutally clashing their weapons. The impact kicks up dust and sparks, creating a shockwave that rattles the castle windows. Pushing against the MC's blade, the blonde man shows he has a lot of physical strength despite using daggers. Exchanging blows at the speed of light, they slice through the air, creating currents of cutting wind throughout the entire garden. Sliding back, the two create distance, sizing each other up before the next round. Without giving him time to breathe, Sees raises his hand and conjures a red magic circle on the ground. Stone Spear. He summons a gigantic sharp pillar that erupts from the earth right under the MC. Sensing the danger, the boy jumps to the side by a hair, nearly getting his legs impaled by the rock. Somersaulting in the air, the hero prepares an aerial cut, but his brother is already casting another spell. In an insane sequence, the blonde man shoots sharp boulders as if they were guided missiles. Slamming his hand on the ground, Sees activates, crushing fangs of rock blade, and dozens of stone swords rise, tearing up the area. Cornered by the earth spikes, our hero wonders if the nut job is mixing earth magic with physical attacks. Tearing through the air, the brother advances quickly through the rocks, ready to slice the kid up. Crossing swords again, sparks fly, and the MC feels the absurd weight of each blow. Using his agility, the hero dodges and counter-attacks, creating a deadly dance of cuts that leaves trails of light and earth across the courtyard. Focused on the brawl, the blonde man doesn't let up the pressure and continues to cast spells along with his thrusts. Parrying a flying rock, the MC breaks through his brother's defense with his glowing sword. Analyzing the fight, the boy uses his skill and realizes that getting close carelessly will be fatal, as the guy's style is very unpredictable. Reading the panel, he discovers that Sees' physical attributes are 5-star, confirming he's no ordinary novice. Connecting the dots, the dark-haired boy understands that the blonde man compensates for his low-level core by using crazy combinations of stone spells with his sword. Determined to end this cat and mouse game, our hero announces he'll settle it with the raw power of his own core. Concentrating his energy, he activates the sword dance of light and shadow technique, filling his blade with pure divine aura and darkness. The ground cracks under the pressure of the imminent attack, and a vortex of power explodes in the center of the courtyard. Shocked by the size of the glow, Sees takes a step back, mentally wondering if that monster is really his weak younger brother. Feeling the ground tremble, the blonde man braces for impact, planting his feet on the destroyed stones. Quickly, the brother activates the dark lightning style, and his daggers begin to spark with wicked red energy. In a swift move, he conjures the instant black ray, attack, and vanishes into the air like a flash. Focused, the MC recognizes the technique, remembering his lessons with instructor Kyle about the tricks of each family member. In the boy's mind, the teacher explains that the lightning style specializes in attacks that are impossible to dodge through sheer speed alone. Mockingly, the blonde man reappears, running along invisible walls, praising the youngest for knowing the house techniques well. But he soon gives a sadistic smile and warns that knowing the theory and taking a beating in practice are two completely different things. Daring the danger, our hero yells, calling the attack on, without retreating an inch. Spinning his red daggers, Seize advances like a deadly lightning bolt, aiming straight for the kid's neck. The trail of dark energy shatters the entire scene, creating a path of pure destruction. At the last second, the MC clashes his golden sword against the red lightning, causing an explosion that blinds everyone around. With a scream of absurd effort, the hero tries to push back the lightning charge, putting every drop of his mixed core into the block. But the pressure from his brother's blow is too strong, and a shockwave throws the boy back, tearing up the stones with his boots. Final explosion sends debris flying everywhere, raising a giant cloud of smoke in the courtyard. As the dust settles a bit, you can see the remains of statues flying, and silence falls over the place. Sliding across the ground, our MC coughs up a bit of blood and feels his muscles burn from the brutal impact. Panting, he holds his trembling sword and realizes he took a glancing cut on his arm, even while defending with everything he had. The blonde man lands smoothly on the other side but is also panting, showing that the move drained a lot of his energy. Frustrated, the hero clicks his tongue, admitting that the sword dance of light and shadow failed miserably to hold back the force of the direct attack. Analyzing the partial defeat, he concludes that copy and adapted techniques have a clear strength limit against the originals. Thinking quickly, he understands he needs to stop playing imitation and create his own move urgently using the mixed core, if he doesn't want to become a pincushion next time. Suddenly, a calm and authoritative voice echoes from nowhere, telling them both to stop the nonsense right there. Coming out of the mansion in a dark dress, their sister Eve appears with a bored expression, putting an end to the dogfight. Inside the luxurious office, the atmosphere is heavy, with everyone sitting on chic sofas. Straight to the point, the girl crosses her legs and asks the reason for that war in the garden. Justifying the brawl, the blonde man explains that the youngest arrived fuming, and as a bodyguard, he had to stop the madman from entering her room. Not buying the excuse, the MC retorts, asking why on earth someone from the Dasker family would need a bodyguard in the first place. Taking a sip of tea, Sister Eve replies with utmost calm that she has no talent for fighting and that her strength lies in her mind. Curious about the feud, the blonde Seize asks what the heck the youngest wants with his sister to have come barging in. Eve then takes the lead, confirming that the boy is there to find out who hired the Assassin's Guild in the forest. Surprised, our hero's eyes widen, and he questions how she already knows about the ambush since he just got back from the mission. With a smug little smile, the girl says there are very few things in this world she doesn't know. Placing her cup on the table, she says she'd love to tell him the secret for free since he's her cute little brother, but in the Dasker family, everything has a price. Understanding the rules of the game, the dark-haired boy agrees and bluntly asks what she wants in exchange for the gossip. Building suspense, the sister asks if the boy has ever heard of a bizarre place called the Infinite Library. She explains it's a giant labyrinth of unknown size, and those who go too deep never wake up again. Because of the absurd knowledge it holds, scholars and adventurers built an entire city around the library's doors to facilitate exploration. Getting straight to the point, Eve tells the hero to enter this cursed hole and bring back a legendary book called the Tome of the Eternal Depths. Eyes widening, the boy recognizes the name instantly, remembering that this is the book that revolutionized magical theory in his past life. He knows the magic from this book saved the lives of thousands of soldiers during the war against the Red Invaders. Thinking fast, the MC concludes that if he can get this book now, 10 years before the end of the world, he can change the entire future of humanity in an incredible way. Without a second thought, our hero's face hardens, and he agrees to fetch the book for her. Shaking the boy's hand, Eve gives a smirk, confirming the dirty deal between them. The next day, a noisy carriage rattles down the cobblestone streets towards the new destination. Sitting with the maid, the MC looks out the window, analyzing the travel information, while the servant seems a bit nauseous. Arriving in the city of Arcanum, the boy sees gigantic towers and a place bustling with life and mercenaries. As soon as he steps out of the carriage, he feels the heavy atmosphere of the adventurous city. The maid explains that the labyrinth of the Infinite Library is so complex that anyone who enters without a guide starves to death inside. Walking through the busy alleys, the hero bumps into bounty hunters and strange mages. He heads straight for a darker street, looking for a specific contact in those alleys. Stopping in front of an old building with different architecture, the kid analyzes the facade. Inside, the place looks more like an abandoned shop, full of dust and cobwebs. A tired-looking man is at the counter, asking what the customers want. Suddenly, the scene cuts to Eva's office, where she's still having tea with their brother Scar. With a cynical smile, the redhead says he wants to ask a few things about their youngest brother. No. Showing no reaction, the sister takes another sip of her drink, seemingly anticipating the guy's annoyance. With a sigh, the girl comments that it's very rare for the redhead to visit her in his office. With a cynical look, he lets out a crooked smile and replies that he needs to borrow his sister's strength and intelligence. Sitting on the sofa, Scar asks where the watchdog sees is, wanting to know why the entrance was clear. Calmly, Eve replies that the patriarch sent the blonde man on an urgent mission, so he had to leave in a hurry. The redhead's smile widens, realizing his sister is alone and unprotected at that moment. Maintaining her composure, the girl says she has very competent subordinates looking after the shadows, so she's not defenseless in the slightest. Mockingly, the brother says he expected exactly that kind of bravado from her and directly asks for information on the youngest. Looking at his own hands, the redhead says he wants to know where the heck the punk got so much power to go head-to-head with the platinum-haired Julia Wright after waking up from the poison. Clenching his fists, he slams the table, demanding to know the secret behind that absurd strength. He also throws it in her face that the youngest defeated the professional assassins he himself had hired. Placing her cup down delicately, Eve replies dryly that unfortunately, she can't help with that piece of gossip. Seriously, she explains that selling information of that level would upset the balance of the War of Succession. She then declares that as an information broker, she must treat all her siblings equally to avoid getting a knife in her back during the night. Ticked off, the redhead stands up, asking if she's really refusing to cooperate with him. Fearlessly, the sister faces him and asks if he really thinks he has enough money or influence to make her risk her own neck in such a dangerous game. Laughing like a psychopath, Scar says she'll understand very soon what kind of compensation he has to offer. Immediately, a shadow with glowing red eyes appears behind the girl, ready to attack. Meanwhile, in the city of Arcanum, the MC is looking at the giant tower of the Infinite Library on the horizon. Walking through the streets, he ignores the annoying vendors and stays focused on his goal. Turning the corner of a somewhat suspicious alley, he finds the shop the maid recommended. Pushing the heavy door, a small bell rings, and he smells the scent of mold and old magic in the air. Whispering to himself, the boy says he's finally here and feels a strange nostalgia from his past life. From the back of the shop, a guy who looks like a beggar appears, saying they're closed and telling the customer to scram. Reading the system panel, the MC confirms the shopkeeper's name is Osrek and quickly says he doesn't want to buy any magical junk, but wants to hire the guy as a guide for the labyrinth. Impatiently, the shopkeeper refuses the job and says he no longer works as a guide to the depths. Questioning the legend, the hero asks if he wasn't the nutjob who knew the entire library better than the back of his hand. Annoyed, the guy yells at the kid to stop bothering him and get out. Finding the direct refusal strange, the MC bluntly asks why he stopped working as a guide, being the best in the city. Slamming his hand on the counter, the shopkeeper shouts that it's a personal problem and a brat can't help with anything. Analyzing the man's desperate expression, the boy remains silent, realizing the issue runs deep. Lowering his head, the shopkeeper Osrek apologizes for his outburst and admits he's been on edge lately. Before the MC can reply, the shop's bell rings again, breaking the tense atmosphere. As the door opens, heavy boots hit the floor, and a platinum-haired woman enters the shop with all the swagger. Eyes widening, the hero recognizes his sister Julia, who enters sarcastically asking if the youngest is doing okay. Intrigued, the boy asks if she's stalking him, but the platinum-haired girl says she just saw him in the middle of one of her missions and decided to follow out of curiosity. In shock, the shopkeeper jumps and shouts, asking if that's the famous Julia from the cursed Dasker family. Pointing at the MC, she confirms it and says the kid next to him is also one of the monsters of the lineage. Hearing this, Osrek's expression changes instantly, and he says he'll accept the guide job if the platinum-haired woman comes along to the labyrinth. Confused, the hero questions the quick change of heart and deduces the guy's personal problem has to do with monsters. Waving them over, the shopkeeper tells them to follow him to the back of the dirty shop. A woman lies in bed, as pale as a corpse. The man explains that a month ago, his wife was hit with a curse from a monster in the depths of the library. In his mind, an image of a bizarre creature covered in red energy and darkness flashes. The curse puts the victim into a deep sleep that drains their life until their heart stops beating. Analyzing the woman, the platinum-haired sister confirms that the only way to break it is to kill the monster that cast the plague, and the shopkeeper cries, saying all the mercenaries he hired were massacred in the labyrinth. Without delay, the platinum-haired girl agrees to go down into the labyrinth to save the man's wife, but lays down a condition on the spot. Pointing at our MC, she says the boy will have to participate in the monster hunt with her, no matter what. Curious about the youngest's power, she confesses her real intention is to see how the kid fights up close. Noticing her attitude, the boy realizes his big sister still doubts his strength a lot. Cool with the challenge, our hero accepts the proposal and tells the shopkeeper to get the gear ready to guide them. Excited by the hope of saving his wife, the man pounds his chest and guarantees he'll show them the way perfectly. Standing before the colossal tower of the Infinite Library, the trio prepares to enter the Anthill of Hunters. During the walk, the MC fishes for information, asking what the heck she meant with that talk about a secret back at the shop. Recalling their brawl in the courtyard, the woman explains she felt a bizarre energy blocking her power that wasn't just the demonic core. With a sharp smile, the platinum-haired girl says the labyrinth will be the perfect stage for the kid to show his hidden trick. To break the tense mood, the guide arrives, loaded with backpacks, apologizing for the delay. Straight to the point, our MC calls the group, and they start marching towards the tower's entrance. As they pass through the hall's gates, they walk by a bunch of mercenaries preparing to descend into the depths. With the weight of the backpacks on his shoulders, the guide says his life is now literally in the hands of the sibling duo. From a distance, some hunters gossip, pointing at the guide and saying his team will surely be the next to bite the dust. Focused on their goal, the trio stands before the giant doors of the library, ready for what lies on the other side. Placing their hands on the cold stone, the shopkeeper pushes the heavy door, clearing the passage to the labyrinth. Blue Flash then takes over the place, swallowing the entire team in teleportation magic. Traveling through space, the group is pulled with full force into the absurd structure. Landing on an internal platform, they come face to face with bookshelves the size of buildings, disappearing into the horizon. Impressed by the sheer size of the place, the platinum-haired girl admits that without a guide, they would have easily gotten lost and perished in that labyrinth. Faced with floating staircases and infinite corridors, it's obvious the place is a deadly puzzle. Looking at the scenery, our hero's eyes widen as he notices a very sinister detail on the walls. Giant paintings depict the ancient war against the invader faction that destroyed his world in the past. Quickly connecting the dots, the boy realizes the library has a direct connection to the apocalyptic monsters. In his mind, the bloody vision of the red giants annihilating humanity without mercy flashes. With a confident smirk, the MC deduces he might find a weakness here to defeat the beasts in the future. Returning to reality, he remembers that the main goal is still to get the Tome of the Eternal Depths for his sister Eve. Descending the colossal corridors, the guide begins to explain the bizarre mechanics of the library's floors. Checking his mental map, the shopkeeper notes that the forbidden book they're looking for should only appear around the 20th floor. Frowning, the hero comments that reaching the 20th floor is a feat almost no one has ever achieved. Walking on the dark tiles, they find a glowing blue magic circle on the floor. Step by step, the team approaches the teleporter that connects the labyrinth's floors. Just as they're about to jump, a group of giant orcs armed with axes appears in front of the circle to block their way. Trembling, the guide says that monsters always respawn in the teleport area and asks if the siblings can handle the brawl. Drawing his sword with utmost calm, our MC says that's no problem at all. In a brutal charge, the boy slices the shield-bearing orc in half with a single strike, spreading the mixed light across the floor. Not falling behind, the platinum-haired girl also draws her blade, tearing through the air towards the beasts. In a matter of seconds, the heavy monsters fall, dismembered, without even understanding where the attack came from. Utterly shocked by the duo's violence, the guide swallows hard as the sister tells him to pick up the pace. Now on the 10th floor, the group walks calmly through more circular and dark corridors. Carrying the huge backpack, the shopkeeper leads the way, sweating, but guiding the monsters of the Dasker family. Passing through a stone arch, they reach another transition area of the labyrinth. Right away, they come across another giant magic circle glowing in the middle of the dark room. Standing in front of the light, the team takes a deep breath and prepares to descend even deeper into the hole. Immediately, the magic swallows the trio, throwing them into the heavy depths of the library. A white flash erupts, blinding everyone's vision for a brief moment. Blinking to adjust his sight, the MC is already on alert, feeling the area's atmosphere plummet. Landing in a gigantic room, the guide announces they finally reached the plaza that gives access to the coveted 20th floor. Pointing into the darkness, the shopkeeper's voice trembles as he says the area's guardian monster is right in front of them. Walking slowly, the team approaches the center of the plaza, where the darkness seems alive. Suddenly, the seals on the floor begin to flash, reacting to the presence of the awakening threat. Out of nowhere, black thorny roots begin to sprout from the ground, forming a bizarre creature. With glowing red eyes on its massive trunk, a wicked ancient Trent reveals itself, roaring at the group. In total panic, the guide screams that the last time he was here, the beast was just a normal wooden monster, not this mutant abomination. Desperate, the man says that to kill a rank A beast of this level, you need a huge team of elite hunters, not just 2 people. Laughing at the guide's meltdown, the platinum-haired girl gives a mocking smirk, asking what's this story about needing more people. Drawing her sword with style, the woman declares that she alone is more than enough to turn that devilish tree into firewood. With a violent impulse, the sister charges forward, tearing through the air like a missile straight towards the abomination. Sensing the danger, the mutant tree shoots dozens of sharp vines like spears at the girl. As agile as a ninja, the platinum-haired girl slices through the sharp branches in mid-air without losing an ounce of speed. Using the very roots she just cut as a launch pad, the woman leaps onto the creature's colossal structure. Spinning her sword like a hurricane, she brings down a heavy blow on the trent's trunk, sending black splinters flying everywhere. Focused on the weak spot, she aims right for the central red eye, trying to take out the wooden abomination's vision. Landing on the ground with a skid, the woman clicks her tongue, complaining that the monster's bark is tough as heck. Sweating buckets, the guide yells that the branches are as hard as steel and that they urgently need a fire mage there. Taking advantage of her carelessness, the monster launches a sea of roots that wrap around the platinum-haired girl's body, trapping her by surprise. In a matter of milliseconds, the wooden ropes cover the girl almost up to her neck, squeezing like a giant anaconda. Thinking it has won the fight, the devilish tree lets out a deafening roar of victory in the middle of the dark room. Seeing his companion trapped, our hero lets out a tense shout, ready to intervene and slice up the monstrous salad. But inside the wooden prison, the woman gives a maniacal smile, and her eyes shine with pure excitement. Whispering the fifth form of the dark flame style, the temperature of the place explodes to an absurd level. In a wave of black fire, she incinerates the roots and emerges wearing the dark flame armor. Looking like a demon straight out of heck. Jaw on the floor, the MC takes a step back, shocked that she can use pure fire magic as a defense without frying her own skin. Covered by the scarlet aura and with the flaming armor, the sister extends her hands, summoning the first offensive form, ready to toast the Trent for good. Concentrating the dark power in her blade, the girl charges forward, tearing through the air and announcing the dark flame sword dance. With psychopathic fury. Feeling the insane heat, the cursed tree panics and tries to throw all its sharp roots at once to block the charge. Smiling like a demon, the platinum-haired girl cuts through the sea of wood as if it were confetti, spreading scarlet fire everywhere. In a lightning-fast flight, she slams her flaming sword directly into the abomination's massive trunk. The blow is so violent that it cracks the treant's thick bark and begins to cook the beast from the inside out. With a war cry, she forces the blade deeper, spinning her body to maximize the damage. A cross-shaped explosion of fire tears through the monster's structure, illuminating the entire dark room. The impact is so insane that it shatters the red eye in the middle of the trunk, making the tree let out an agonizing roar. Landing calmly on the other side of the beast, the woman shrugs and says her sword doesn't stop for any piece of junk steel. But the guide screams in desperation, warning that the brawl isn't over yet and points to the destroyed piece of wood. Out of nowhere, a thin root sprouts from the ground and grabs the girl's ankle in the blink of an eye. Before she can cut the vine, dozens of other roots rise and trap her entire body again. Mocking her own situation, the platinum-haired girl admits that plant monsters are a pain in the neck because they regenerate too quickly if you don't burn every last bit. Watching from a distance, the MC swallows hard, seeing his sister being crushed by the ever-growing ball of roots. Without showing any panic, she announces from inside that she's going to activate the third form of her style. Seeing the dire situation, our hero grabs the guide's arm and yells for him to run to the opposite side. Desperate, the shopkeeper doesn't understand a thing but follows the boy, dragged along as the ground shakes. Inside the wooden prison, the platinum-haired girl's red eyes open, glowing like embers, and she releases the full flow of her demonic core. Announcing the dark flame explosive burial, she detonates her own fire armor in an absurdly suicidal attack. A colossal column of black and red fire engulfs the entire Trent, vaporizing the wood down to the last fiber. The shockwave from the explosion sweeps the room, throwing rocks and ashes aside, forcing the MC to create a shield with his own sword to avoid being turned into barbecue. As the smoke clears, the boy looks at the destruction and throws it in his sister's face, asking if her intention was to toast the entire floor. Emerging from the crater covered in ash but unharmed, the platinum-haired girl walks with all the swagger in the world. Fixing her hair as if nothing happened, she turns to the group and asks with a bored voice if they can move on now. Completely in shock and trembling, the guide mutters that it's impossible for one person alone to cause that level of disaster and walk away fine. Analyzing the scene, our hero mentally confirms that his sister is an absolute monster in raw attack power. But the boy spots her weak point, noticing that her fire techniques consume a bizarre amount of energy and that she wouldn't last long in a battle of attrition. After the Trent madness, the team finally reaches the famous 20th floor, walking through corridors filled with dust and cobwebs. Rummaging through some old shelves, the boy suddenly jumps, his eyes widening when he sees what he was looking for. Quietly celebrating, the MC pulls the called Tome of the Eternal Depths from the shelf, vibrating with joy for having found the artifact. Overjoyed, the shopkeeper celebrates, remembering that it was right there on the 20th floor that he ran into the cursed beast that cursed his wife. Confirming the theory, the guide explains that monsters don't respawn in this transition area, which is why he managed to get there last time without being an elite hunter. Focused on finding the abomination, the trio advances through the labyrinth's shelves, keeping their guard up. Walking slowly through the shadows, they come across the floor's boss plaza, where the mysterious monster is already waiting. Analyzing the creature from a distance, the hero notices something strange about its silhouette and braces for impact. Seeing the humanoid figure in armor, the MC feels a chill down his spine and recognizes the threat instantly. He drops the book on a nearby table and quickly draws his sword. The boy's eyes widen in panic as he realizes the gravity of the problem. Also drawing her sword, the platinum-haired girl gets into an attack stance next to her brother, while the guide cowers behind them. With its back to the group, the huge undead knight in dark armor and with a giant sword notices the intruders. Trembling and with tears in his eyes, the shopkeeper points his finger and screams, cursing the wretched monster that destroyed his wife's life. With fire in his eyes, the MC tells the guide to stay back and warns his sister that playtime is over and they need to crush the monster fast. Feeling the beast's absurd pressure, the hero yells for the platinum-haired girl to retreat immediately. Ignoring her younger brother's warning, the girl gives a sadistic smile and replies that she'll take the lead and pulverize the creature. In an insane charge, the monster knight spins its body with a speed that breaks the laws of physics and attacks before she can. With a colossal swing, the undead fires a dark, cutting energy wave, tearing through the air towards the girl. Caught on the back foot, the platinum-haired girl barely has time to cross her sword to defend against the demonic gust of wind. The impact is so violent that it cracks the floor, opening a giant fissure behind her. Sliding for several feet, the sister kicks up a cloud of smoke, grumbling that being pushed back by brute force was not part of the plan. Planting one knee on the ground to avoid falling, the woman mentally admits that a prolonged battle against this thing will end badly. Giving no respite, the monster doesn't stop and immediately follows up with a flying thrust aimed straight at her chest. In the blink of an eye, the enemy's giant blade descends, wrapped in dark energy, ready to slice the platinum-haired girl in half. Dodging by instinct, she rolls to the side, feeling the pressure of the wind cut her cheek. Clashing head-on, the girl counter-attacks with a blow covered in dark fire, and the two swords collide, letting out lightning. The force of the clash creates a storm of dark and crimson energy, destroying the shelves around them. Watching from a distance, the MC swallows hard, realizing he could barely follow the speed of the first attack with his eyes. Shocked, the boy wonders how on earth the monster managed to defend against his sister's explosive attack without taking damage. Ticked off by the block, the platinum-haired girl leaps back and prepares her next technique, spinning her sword in the air. Summoning red magic seals under her feet, she shouts the second form of the dark flames and summons a massive pillar of fire. Announcing the Dark Flame Vortex, a tornado of black fire engulfs the undead knight, dragging it to the center of the destruction. Seeing the monster trapped in the fire, the guide celebrates from his hiding spot behind a shelf, thinking the tables have turned in their favor. But the MC has a very bad feeling and yells for the girl not to let her guard down for a second. From the middle of the scarlet tornado, the knight's giant sword cuts through the fire as if it were smoke and comes down heavily towards her. With a confident smile, the platinum-haired girl thinks the beast's slow attack is a perfect opening and goes for the counter-attack. With her blade enveloped in pure, dense demonic core, she aims for the gap in the enemy's armor to end the fight. But upon clashing her sword, her eyes widen, and she feels a bizarre recoil travel up her arm. Instead of cutting, her sword hits and slides off the monster's shell without causing a single scratch. In a survival reflex, she retreats, letting out a groan of pain as she feels her wrist crack from the brutal impact. Paralyzed, the hero thinks to himself that it's impossible for the beast's armor to tank the heaviest attack of the shadow technique. Breathing heavily, the girl stands still, looking at the tip of her sword, which cracked just from hitting the undead. Emotionless and looking bored, the monster opens its visor, revealing a rotten, radioactive green glow inside. Confused, the platinum-haired girl realizes her left arm is covered in a disgusting green energy and starts to lose feeling. Suddenly, the knight spews a massive beam of green poisonous energy straight from its helmet at point-blank range. Leaping like a ninja, our hero grabs his sister by the waist and rolls out of the kill zone. The green beam grazes past them and hits the labyrinth wall, creating a giant hole and melting the stones with an acidic goo that evaporates into the air. Facing his injured sister, our MC assures her he'll help but tells her to stay away from the monster's cursed hand. At that moment, the beast opens its arm, which stretches out like a whip of rotten flesh, emanating a cursed energy. The platinum-haired girl shouts that with that poisoned arm, she won't be able to accumulate energy to deliver the final blow. Changing focus, the boy asks his sister for something very important in the midst of the carnage. Looking at the undead knight, he notices the beast is charging an attack of pure energy in its chest. The MC asks her to unleash that suicidal blow that almost finished them both back in the courtyard. Without hesitation, the platinum-haired girl accepts the risk and charges forward, slicing through the air with insane speed. In a burst of power, she spins her sword, covering the area with dark flames that force the monster to retreat. While his sister distracts the beast, the dark-haired boy concentrates all the energy of his core into his special style. Sword dance of light and shadow. With their combined attacks, they corner the undead in a sandwich of absolute destruction. The flash of the collision illuminates the entire floor, blinding the guide who hides behind a bookshelf. In a colossal deflagration, the black flames and golden rays obliterate the knight's defense. The platinum-haired girl lands on her feet next to her brother as the beast's armor begins to crack all over. Through the smoke, the two siblings position themselves to finish off the trash once and for all. But the monster lets out a spine-chilling roar, and its armor begins to glow with a sinister violet hue. Impressed by its resilience, the MC mutters that this is no ordinary monster. At a speed no one expected, the undead delivers a giant circular cut with its dark blade. The platinum-haired girl leaps back, narrowly dodging as the floor is sliced in half. Relentlessly, the knight advances again, trying to impale the girl whose arm is paralyzed. But the MC blocks the attack with his hand enveloped in pure light, protecting his sister at the last millisecond. Yelling for her to dodge, the boy takes the blow directly on his mixed energy shield. Immediately, the sister activates the second form of the dark flame, creating a giant spear of fire. The impact of the technique brings the knight to its knees, making its armor crack like glass. Realizing the weak point is its chest, it releases an emerald glow from within its shell. The platinum-haired girl shouts her brother's name, telling him not to miss the perfect opening she created. With his core vibrating, the MC enters holy demonic-style mode, awakening a new divine aura. Raising his sword, which now shines like a star, he invokes the twin polarity blade. In a swift descent, he drives the blade straight into the monster's chest, destroying the emerald core. The undead stops moving instantly, letting out a final sigh of old metal. The light pierces through the beast's armor, pulverizing everything from the chest down as it turns to dust. With the creature defeated, the MC falls to his knees, exhausted, as his aura returns to its normal state. Analyzing the damage, the boy notes that the beast's power level was much higher than expected. The platinum-haired sister throws her sword on the ground and unleashes an explosion of dark flame vortex to make the last remnants of the monster disappear. She turns to her brother, admitting that the effort was worth it to settle the debt she owed him. Looking at the defeated body, the MC thinks that not even the platinum-haired girl's strongest technique made a scratch on the armor before their fusion. Wondering if retreating was the only option, he observes what's left of the battlefield. Silence returns to the floor as the two siblings face each other amidst the rubble. The platinum-haired girl comments that two monsters like them in the same family is a sure recipe for disaster. The MC hears a strange voice in his head but ignores it, focusing on the woman's injured arm. Standing up slowly, the hero finds himself surrounded by a very intense white light that appears from nowhere. The environment changes completely and an unbalanced but blended golden energy floats around. Shouting into the void, he asks who's there and where he ended up after the fight. A dazzling light appears in the center of the room, and the MC understands that if he perishes here, it's all over. The undead knight disappears for good as the system gives a critical class awakening warning. The platinum-haired girl appears in the flash, asking what the heck he's doing standing there like a statue. A panel appears in the MC's vision, confirming the successor's awakening and the unlocking of the divine core system. With trembling hands, he invokes the second form of the divine style, which he had never seen before. The sword begins to emanate a golden power that makes the very air of the labyrinth vibrate. Whispering, "Twin Sky Tier," he feels the ancient energy flowing through the channels of his new body. In an explosion of golden light, he launches a beam that cuts through the reality ahead. The power is so insane that even time seems to stop for a second. Smiling, the dark-haired boy feels that this is the true power of the holy core he had been seeking. With his energy overflowing, he swears to return the favor to everyone who tried to take him out. The golden power advances, destroying the labyrinth of shadows and clearing the path to the next floor. A system notification pings in his face, confirming that the invitation for awakening has been accepted. Looking at his sword, he realizes he has inherited the consciousness of the power's former owner. The blade emits an aura of authority that makes even the platinum-haired girl retreat a little. A golden spirit appears, floating above him with an imperial posture. With a deep voice, the man introduces himself as Zex Valmuth, the former heir of the Divine Core. The MC is paralyzed and asks who this guy is who knows his secret power. Zex explains that the Divine and Demonic Cores are actually two defective products from the same origin. The spirit recounts that in the Age of the Gods, humanity received the power to fight against the invaders from the outer world. But after the war, humans themselves began to kill each other out of political greed. He reveals that the factions afraid of losing control assassinated the original core bearers. The power was split in two, resulting in the creation of the incomplete demonic and divine cores that exist today. The spirit explains that originally, the two were one, which is why the MC was able to merge the sides. Seizing the opportunity, the dark-haired boy asks if he would have been able to defeat the invaders if he hadn't been betrayed by his own people. Hatred in his eyes, Zex asserts that with the complete core, they would have wiped the invaders off the map without breaking a sweat. The spirit looks at the boy and says that with this new fused power, he can change the tragic future. But he warns that the MC needs to defeat powerful enemies to strengthen the system to its limit. With a glint in his eyes, our hero agrees on the spot, accepting the challenge. Zex laughs with satisfaction and says he'll teach him something very simple to start the training. He orders the kid to show him how he deals with the trash that's coming to attack him from behind. In an explosion of golden light, the MC spins and fires a beam of pure energy that makes the scenery tremble. The impact hits a dark monster that was trying to surprise the group, blowing the beast to smithereens in a clear demonstration of superiority. With his eyes glowing purple, the MC mentally resolves to finally cut this monster in half. Leaping like a bullet, he clashes his golden energies against the undead, creating a shockwave that shatters the ground. Spinning in the air, our hero invokes the Heaven's Twins technique, controlling blades of light around his body. The system glows in his vision, explaining that the technique uses light to create both cutting attacks and solid defenses. In an insane sequence, he launches 6 swords of pure energy that fly like drones around the creature. Seeing the scene, the guide Ozrek's jaw drops, asking how the kid managed to rip off the beast's arm using the ambient light. The monster tries to retaliate with its dark claws, but the light blades block everything, creating a perfect barrier. Taking advantage of the open guard, the dark-haired boy advances with sword in hand, making a direct thrust at the core. With a smile of someone who has already won the game, he points the palm of his hand at the beast, which is now completely surrounded by golden light. The combined attack of the 6 glows pierces the knight's armor as if it were toilet paper. Roaring in pain, the undead tries to hold back the swords, but the holy power burns away its dark energy. In a final blow, the hero fires a giant laser, piercing the creature's helm and pulverizing the rest of the metal. The monster shell collapses into pieces of twisted iron and smoke as the enemy turns to dust. Seeing the battle concluded, the MC sheathes his sword, panting but with a victorious glint in his eyes. The platinum-haired girl appears behind him, still stunned by the technique that sucked all the evil energy from the area. Shouting for him to dodge, the sister realizes the monster has one last trick up its sleeve before it perishes. A blast of green poisonous energy explodes from the knight's corpse, shooting towards the two of them. Without a second thought, our MC raises a golden shield that reflects the acid jet away. The toxic energy hits the labyrinth walls, melting the stone and making a sizzling sound. View, an agile move, the platinum-haired girl cuts off the rest of the beam with her own sword, protecting the guide who was right behind her. The impact of the explosion shakes the entire floor, but the hero stands firm. Crossing his arms, he lets the golden energy slowly dissipate as the monster finally stops glowing. Wide-eyed, the sister comments that the boy emerged from the brutal attack completely unscathed. Taking stock, the dark-haired boy sheathes his blades, feeling that he has eliminated the first obstacle of the expedition. The two stand side by side as the golden glow illuminates the dark corridor of the infinite library. The remaining energy in the area is absorbed by the boy's seals, and he begins to glow again. Feeling his body react, he notes that the successor class is leveling up his own energy. A system message announces that the Divine Core's level has risen to 2, and he has gained the 5, Colored Eyes skill. Looking at the notification, the kid realizes that Zex left a hidden message in the system's code. The system says this is the path to growth and tells him to use his new power wisely. Analyzing the panel, the MC realizes that becoming a monster in a brawl is the only way to unlock new abilities. Approaching, the guide asks if the monster is really dead or if it's going to wake up for a jump scare. Stating the obvious, the dark-haired boy points to the disintegrated corpse, assuring him the beast is gone for good. The platinum-haired girl sheathes her sword, noting that the heavy air of the library has lightened and the curse is gone. With teary eyes, Ozrek thanks them both and says he needs to rush back to save his wife now. Watching the guide leave, the sister walks up to her brother, analyzing the way he walks. Without mincing words, she asks where he learned to use such a sinister sword style. The boy tries to brush it off, but the platinum-haired girl's face hardens, demanding the truth since she knows all known styles. She explains that there are many schools, but the way he wields the dark core is too unique. The girl names the specialized attack and speed techniques he's been using. She mentions the shadow styles and the despair of the void as if the kid has mastered them all. But she figures out that his style doesn't fit into any of the books the family teaches. Cornered, the MC wonders how she's so observant and what he can make up to get her to stop asking. The platinum-haired girl stares deep into his eyes, waiting for an answer that doesn't come from a book. With a smirk, the kid cuts off the subject and tells her to forget about it. The platinum-haired girl warns that she'll collect the truth on the day they have to kill each other in the succession. Leaving the labyrinth, they find the guide, already returning with the book in hand for the deal with Eve. As they walk back to the castle, the sunlight beats down on the three of them. Suddenly, the rumble of a carriage interrupts their walk, and their brother Seize appears, shouting that Eve has been kidnapped. The blonde man explains that Scar invaded the mansion while he was away and took their sister hostage to get information. It's obvious the redhead wants to force Eve to spill the beans about Noah through torture. With his eyes glowing an intense purple, the MC grits his teeth, promising that Scar will pay dearly. He turns to Seize and the guide, asking if they're ready to go head-to-head with the third son. The dark-haired boy declares he won't just be asking for an apology, but will return double the damage the redhead caused. With an aura of pure hatred, he decrees that the one-sided retaliation phase has now begun. The blonde man confirms he's going along to clean up his own mess for leaving his sister alone. The MC cuts the conversation short, saying there's no time to gather soldiers and that they're invading now. Ordering the guard to handle the mansion's security, the boy draws his sword, ready for the slaughter. Instructor Kyle promises to protect the castle with his own life while they solve the problem. With a nod, the dark-haired boy gives the final order, and the group marches towards the enemy's lair. In the carriage, the MC and Seize race toward Scar's mansion with fire in their eyes. The wind whips past them as they gallop down the main roads of the Dasker Kingdom. The boy notes that Seize is much more skilled as a guard than he imagined and won't go down easily. He asks his brother why on earth he protects Eve so much, and the blonde man confesses it's a bond of ancient loyalty. The blonde man reveals that his demonic core isn't that strong, so he had to specialize in protection. Reflecting on his weaknesses, the blonde man admits that the only way to compensate for his lack of power was through brutal training. He recalls the martial arts styles he learned in secret to protect those he loves. Looking at his brother, the MC realizes that Seize is one of the few in the family who doesn't just want to kill the others. The blonde man shouts that he will protect Eve no matter what happens on this rescue mission. Arriving at the enemy mansion's gate, they leap from their horses, weapons already in hand. The dark-haired boy says he will show no mercy to Scar's guards. With a kick, he shatters the main gate of the villain's house, startling the servants. The MC's purple energy explodes, illuminating the entrance with a terrifying aura. He advances, destroying the statues and barriers protecting Scar's garden. In a display of power, the hero charges at the redhead's personal guard, destroying everything in his path. Right away, our MC and the blonde man invade the enemy base, facing the assassin unit. At that moment, the bodyguard warns that this is the coward Scar's elite troop. Wasting no time, the enemies leap from the walls, proving their skills are no joke. In a mocking tone, the masked leader calls them both idiots for invading head-on. Ticked off, our boy unleashes his purple aura and demands they bring out the redhead, as he has no time for trash. Finding his bravado amusing, the masked man comments that the punk still doesn't understand the numerical disadvantage. Just then, the MC's look of pure hatred makes one of the goons charge blindly at him. But the response is swift, and the hero pierces the lackey's chest with a clean, lightning-covered strike. He immediately follows up with a brutal kick, sending another assassin flying. Furious with his audacity, the leader points his sword, swearing zero mercy for anyone who defies the master of the house. Paying no mind to the threat, our boy becomes a purple blur, tearing through the enemy ranks. Sparks fly everywhere as his blade slices through goon after goon. In the middle of the courtyard, true carnage unfolds as the two brothers shred the assassins. The MC soon clashes with the leader, crossing swords in a heavy collision. Despite their brute force, the horde of lackeys continues to surround the duo without giving a second of peace. Claiming his space, the blonde Seize cuts a goon in half, showing he can also do some damage. Preparing the ground, the bodyguard activates the third form of the Dark Thunder style, accumulating blue lightning in his sword. In a thunderous explosion, the electric flash sweeps through the enemies with a wicked storm. From the impact, you can see dozens of goons flying through the air, completely toasted. Screams of pain echo through the garden, confirming the attack was devastating. Full of swagger, the partner calls out the entire horde for a fight, pounding his chest. With a smirk, our MC realizes he can confidently leave the rear guard in the blonde man's hands. Just then, the masked leader advances furiously, telling the boy not to underestimate the troop by looking away. All too agile, the hero dodges the cowardly slash in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, a giant red magic circle appears in the air, indicating the enemy has activated a special ability. Standing on a blood-covered floor, the MC wonders what kind of bizarre spell this is. From the shadows, the assassin launches an incredible stealth attack. With a psychopathic voice, the villain says this secret technique was created specifically to kill members of the Dasker family. With narrowed eyes, the boy focuses entirely on the blade coming to take his head off. The system screen makes it clear that the coward is using a very broken rank 5 art. To retaliate, our boy tries to invoke the second form of the divine power in his sword. However, the blade just lets out a few purple sparks, and then goes out completely. Faced with this failure, he grits his teeth, feeling that the energy isn't flowing. Defenseless, the hero takes a purple blast to the chest and is thrown back, sliding across the ground. Analyzing his own body, he is outraged to discover that the enemy's attack has blocked the use of his demonic core. From under his mask, the leader scoffs, saying no sword will save their skins now. The two brothers quickly regroup, standing side by side to rethink their strategy amidst the chaos. Surrounded by a red sea of assassins, the numerical disadvantage becomes even more overwhelming. Very worried, the blonde sees grumbles that this sealing ability is a huge problem for them. Taking the lead, the bodyguard tells the youngest to advance, while he holds off the entire horde alone. With confidence, he tells the punk not to worry and to focus on wrecking Scar to save Eve. Trusting his partner, our MC gives a nod, agreeing to the suicidal plan. Immediately, the kid shoots off like a rocket, leaving the goons eating his dust. Ready for war, the blonde man turns to face the troop of assassins, willing to become a pincushion if necessary. With a confident smile, he says that not having his core doesn't matter, since he can still blow everyone up using pure magic. Stomping the ground hard, the blonde man invokes the Stone Path spell, creating an absurd wall. The massive structure tears through the courtyard, sending the assassins flying like rag dolls. Through the smoke, he tells the youngest to focus on the attached residence, because that's where the target must be hiding. Desperate, the masked leader orders his lackeys to pursue the boy while he tries to break the barrier. But Caesar's magic is unforgiving, and stone spikes impale anyone who tries to take another step. The chief barely dodges the spikes, clicking his tongue in pure rage. An entire forest of sharp rocks forms, separating the two sides of the battlefield. Far from the chaos, our MC runs with focus, slicing through the wind to reach the building. Back in the courtyard, the blonde man taunts the leader, calling him out for a one-on-one fight. Inside the luxurious room, Scar pressures his sister Eve, who is tied to a chair. Without losing her composure, the girl replies dryly that he can ask 1,000 times, but she won't talk. In an attempt at psychological torture, the redhead throws it in her face that he has already captured her henchmen and threatens to finish them all. With a look of pure disgust, the sister retorts that having trash like him in the family is an absolute disgrace. Suddenly, the sounds of the battle outside make the room's windows tremble, startling the coward. Realizing the mess, the terrified redhead deduces that the foolish youngest actually had the nerve to invade his base. Seeing her brother's desperation, the girl whispers that he still doesn't understand the scale of the problem. Giving him a moral lesson, she says that dirty tricks don't work on the youngest because the boy is pure Dasker pride. To maintain his bravado, Scar lets out a nervous laugh, saying he'll finally test the punk's strength. Completely losing it, the redhead draws his sword, cursing his sister for being insolent. But before he can touch her, our hero shatters the window with a cinematic flying kick, storming into the room. Already on the ground, the boy tells his sister that the cavalry has finally arrived to save the day. With sword in hand and a grim look, the kid faces his rival head-on. Relieved, the tied-up girl still finds time to smile and complain about how long the rescue took. Blind with hatred, Scar points his blade at the youngest, screaming the boy's name like a psychopath. Maintaining his brutal coldness, our MC points his weapon back, warning that the game ends here. The atmosphere in the room grows heavy as the two brothers size each other up, ready for carnage. Without retreating an inch, the staring contest promises that only one will leave that room alive. Regaining his arrogance, the villain scoffs, asking if the brat really thinks he has a chance of winning. With the best ironic smile possible, our boy replies that a beating is already a sure thing. Consumed by fury, Scar charges forward but is met with a solid block from the youngest, who sends purple energy flying everywhere. In a brutal charge, our MC clashes his sword against the redhead's blade, sending purple sparks flying. From the impact, the building's wall explodes into pieces from the sheer force of the collision. Thrown far, Scar flies backward, breaks through the glass ceiling, and falls into the courtyard below. Given no respite, the kid lands in the courtyard, sword in hand, ready to continue the beating. With his eyes glowing with pure hatred, the hero locks his sights on the fallen target. Immediately, the system shows that the redhead has 5-star attributes, is the founder of the abyssal style. Walking calmly, the dark-haired boy asks why the coward used assassins against a child. With a cynical smile, the villain replies that the answer should be very obvious. Blind with rage, Scar yells that the brat annoys him to no end and explodes with a frightening purple aura. In a quick leap, the two clash again, creating an energy wave that kicks up dust from the ground. Surprised, the MC notices that the seal on his core is gone and wonders if he has left the area of the magic trap. Angrily, the redhead throws it in his face that their father recognized the youngest strength even though he was so weak. Clashing head on, our hero holds back his brother's heavy attack, which comes with full force. Screaming for the kid to perish, the villain increases the pressure of his blow, covering the area in darkness. The boy quickly parries the blow and forces his rival to take a step back. Sliding across the pavement, the coward creates distance to avoid a surprise counter attack. Panting, Scar mentally admits that the brat's sword skill is the real danger here. With the giant blade in hand, he declares that the youngest will become just a stepping stone in his victory in the succession. Wasting no time, the villain invokes the third form of the abyssal style and raises a sinister smoke. From the ground, a bizarre army of armed giant skeletons emerges, ready for a night march. The bone monsters then charge at the boy in an unstoppable horde. All too calm, the hero analyzes the situation and deduces that this is just a cheap distraction. Preparing his defense, he clashes his sword against the undead's blades to test their brute strength. From the weight of the impact, the dark-haired boy's eyes widen as he understands the true gravity of the trick. Pushed back, he retreats, dragging his boots on the stone ground as the horde advances. The MC quickly concludes that it's no ordinary illusion because the skeletons have real physical mass. More skeletons emerge from the courtyard shadows, surrounding the boy from all sides. Cornered, he invokes the golden aura and creates a divine shield to block the first wave of attacks. Whispering the second form of the holy style, the energy explodes, purifying the nearest creatures. In the blink of an eye, he launches the twin blades of paradise, tearing through the air with golden cuts. A storm of divine light descends from the sky, slicing the giant skeletons as if they were butter. The golden energy zigzags across the scene, clearing the area in a matter of milliseconds. Dusting off his clothes, the hero grumbles that this summoning magic is a pain in the neck. Furious, Scar stumps the ground hard, making the stone crack with pure hatred. The redhead then sends more and more bone monsters at the kid without giving him a moment's rest. Confidently, the villain sarcastically asks if the brat really thinks he can handle an entire army alone. Full of swagger, Scar screams at the top of his lungs, challenging his brother's physical limits. To prove him wrong, our MC charges into the middle of the horde, cutting everything down in a black and purple blur. With cold and calculating eyes, he doesn't lose his rhythm for a single second. Spinning his light, covered sword, he obliterates another wave of skeletons trying to close in. Without mercy, the boy fires energy blasts in all directions, maintaining control of the arena. Mocking his rival, the hero says it doesn't matter how much trash he throws into the ring. Slicing through another enemy, he maintains his insane pace of destruction without breaking a sweat. Repeating his catchphrase, he declares that trash will always be trash, no matter the number. In a perfect finish, the golden light dissolves the last scattered skeletons in the area. On his knees and panting, Scar feels the impact of his failed technique and lets out a groan of pain. Watching from a distance, the MC stands still, sword in hand, just waiting for the next move. Refusing defeat is the only option, and the villain plants his blade in the ground, releasing a pool of darkness. A macabre fissure opens in the courtyard, pulling in the ambient energy in a bizarre way. Startled by the rumble, our boy prepares for the abomination that will emerge from that black hole. Immediately, a colossal bone dragon emerges from the fissure, tearing up the entire ground beneath it. Blind with rage, the redhead points his finger and orders the beast to tear the kid to pieces at once. With a terrifying roar, the skeleton dragon spreads its wings and flies towards the hero. With a sly grin, the MC announces that it's the perfect time to test out a new toy. In his vision, the system screen glows, informing him of the new holy, dark visual ability. He quickly activates the fifth form of the divine style and changes his combat stance. The boy's eyes glow with an intense and frightening hue, locking focus directly on the giant monster. Summoning a golden bolt of lightning straight from the sky, he slams the magic against the bone beast's head. The impact causes a gigantic explosion that throws the dragon to the ground, defeated and useless. With a precise leap, the hero lands right on top of the subjugated monster's skull. With his eyes glowing gold, the MC stares down at his brother from above with an air of pure superiority. Rays of control run through the dragon's bones, proving the beast has a new owner. Paralyzed with shock, Scar watches his own summon serve as a mount for his younger brother. Desperate, the redhead stammers, asking what the heck he did, and screams for the dragon to attack the boy. Through the system screen, the kid explains that his new vision deciphers the enemy's technique and steals complete control. In the most mocking tone, the hero says the beast works for him now and tells his rival to stop crying. In denial and cursing, the villain activates the first form of the abyssal style, ready for an all or nothing move. Shouting the name of the attack, he throws a cutting energy spear towards the winged beast. The magic explodes in the air, creating a smokescreen without causing any real damage to the protected monster. Taking advantage of the distraction, the MC jumps from the dragon and dives straight at the coward. Without retreating, the boy plants his foot on the beast, making it clear that his control over the creature is absolute. Recharging his sword, the brother tries the same dark technique in an act of pure, blind desperation. Again, the spear of darkness shoots out in a red trail, tearing through the tense air of the courtyard. The impact generates another useless deflagration, proving that brute force won't save Scar's skin. At an absurd speed, the hero passes through the explosion and delivers a clean cut that makes the villain spit blood on the spot. Cornered by the boy's advance, the redhead breaks a cold sweat and mutters that he has no other choice. Without hesitation, the coward bites a strange vial, releasing a bizarre purple smoke. Immediately after, a black portal appears in the air, shooting out lightning everywhere. From the midst of the shadows, two assassins appear, holding his sister Eve hostage. With a sadistic smile on his face, the villain mockingly asks if the kid came all this way to save the girl. Pressing the blade to the woman's neck, the goon shows that the threat is for real. Furious with the dirty trick, our hero freezes in place as his rival warns that one false move means her end. Full of swagger, Scar promises to release the prisoner only after sending the youngest to his coffin. Faced with the blackmail, the MC grits his teeth, frustrated at having his hands tied. Suddenly, a brutal red explosion tears through the ground right where the assassins were. Startled by the impact, the coward's eyes widen, not understanding what craziness is happening. In the middle of the dust, their older brother Damien appears with a giant shield, protecting the girl. Completely in shock, the redhead stammers the armored man's name, thinking he's seen a ghost. As serious as a door, the giant says that Eve declared neutrality in the war, and therefore, she is untouchable. Out of his mind, the villain screams, questioning what's the big deal with breaking the house rules. Firm in his position, the eldest declares he will eliminate anyone who defies the family's laws. With his plan ruined, the redhead clicks his tongue in pure hatred. But with a focused gaze, our hero interrupts the argument and tells the giant not to interfere. With a heavy voice, the kid says this battle is for the demonic core and is 100% personal. Determined to get his revenge, the boy makes it clear that no one will steal his prey. With a smirk, Damien agrees that interfering would also be a serious violation of the rules. The brute then steps back and tells the two brothers to go all out to decide who wins the contest. Turning to face his target, the MC calls the coward back to the brawl. To humiliate him completely, he asks if the trash can't fight clean without needing a hostage. Stung by the insult, the villain complains that everyone in the lineage has always looked down on his strength. Drawing all his dark power, Scar activates the seventh form of his abyssal style. An explosion of purple energy, he summons an insane armor of shadows. With his red eyes glowing, the redhead swears that this time, he will slice the youngest into tiny pieces. Without retreating an inch, our boy adjusts his stance and figures out the enemy's technique is meant to confuse. Thinking quickly, he concludes that the best defense is a raw offensive, giving no openings. In a violent charge, the two clash their swords, creating a boom in the middle of the courtyard. Sparks fly with the insane exchange of blows at the speed of light. To finish it off, the hero launches the double celestial tear technique, covered in golden light. However, the rival's shadow armor absorbs the impact, taking the full blow. Completely shocked, our boy doesn't understand how the nutjob stops such a supreme attack. With the enemy's guard open, the villain invokes the fourth form of his dark style. In a fraction of a second, he fires the invisible cut, tearing through the air with a monstrous crimson energy. Caught by surprise, the MC feels the blade graze his body with full force. Out of pure instinct, he crosses his sword over his chest, blocking the worst of the damage. Feeling his arm throb, the kid understands that a core-boosted blow is too tough to tank head-on. Without mercy, the redhead advances, cutting through the wind with absolute fury. Full of mockery, the coward yells, asking where the brat thinks he's going to run. Immediately after, a titanic explosion of golden rays and shadows engulfs the fighters. Dragged back by brute force, our hero lets out a low groan of pain. On the other side, the villain clicks his tongue, frustrated to see that the target escaped a fatal wound. Leaning on his sword, the hero takes a deep breath to recover after the blow. The two clash again, spreading a flash of power across the destroyed arena. With an acrobatic leap, they create distance to recalculate their battle strategy. Paying attention to the enemy, the MC admits that the redhead's technique is flawless in both attack and defense. Straight to the point, the boy asks why on earth someone so strong prefers to play dirty instead of fighting clean. Full of resentment, Scar replies that their father always called his talent for illusions useless trash. Driven by pure hatred, the coward explains that he forged the entire abyssal style, just to prove his worth. However, not even these absurd techniques made the old monster look his way. With his soul completely corrupted, the villain declares that the only remaining option is to win at any cost. With a psychopathic smile, he swears to make the patriarch eat his own words at the end of the war. Exploding with a wicked red aura, he says he doesn't care about getting his hands dirty with pure evil. Cutting the chat short, the redhead tells the youngest to become fertilizer for the success of his campaign. Gathering all his accumulated resentment, he prepares the 9th form of the forbidden style. In an absurd display of power, the villain summons the Red Dragon of Destruction. The scarlet energy beast tears through the skies, letting out a spine-chilling roar. Like a meteor, the massive dragon dives down to devour our hero. The beast's impact with the ground kicks up a colossal cloud of dust and rocks. Suddenly, a golden flash pierces through the smoke, pushing back the destructive charge. With his feet planted on the ground, the MC withstands the absurd pressure, exuding pure divine light. Above him, the energy abomination continues to push, trying to crush its target. At his physical limit, the boy pushes his own core to the extreme, spreading blue and purple lightning. Laughing loudly, Scar says the kid's battery has died, and that he'll perish if he relies only on his blade. Calmly, our hero pulls a mysterious vial from his coat pocket. Bulging eyes, the raidhead recognizes the item instantly and loses his cool. Ironically, the MC explains that he transformed the maid's poison into a perfectly stabilized potion. Without blinking, the boy chugs the dangerous liquid. Terrified, the villain screams, asking if his brother has gone completely insane, since the stuff makes the core explode. In the middle of a golden lightning storm, the kid says his body has already built up an immunity to the toxin. Shining like the sun, our MC claims the poison now works like a supercharged energy drink for his core. Immediately, the system screen pings level 20 of holy power and unleashes a brand new flash of light and darkness. In a serious tone, the boy says he has a strong reason not to lose because the tragedy of the past can never be repeated. Activating the 2nd divine form, an absurd pillar of light descends from the sky, tearing the scene from end to end. Right after announcing the flash of light and darkness, our hero swings his sword with total fury. Desperate, the redhead screams as the massive dragon clashes head on with the overwhelming golden energy. With no chance of victory, the beast of pure shadow begins to shatter under the immense pressure of the divine blow. In a brutal collision, the two magics explode, creating a whirlwind of destruction in the courtyard. Immediately, a flash blinds everyone, sweeping away the darkness from the battlefield. The force of the impact sends a colossal shockwave engulfing the entire arena, sparing nothing. As the dust settles, the level of destruction is visible, with rocks flying everywhere. Thrown back like a rag doll, the villain tries to plant his feet on the completely destroyed ground. Right in the center of the clash, the energy rises like a mushroom cloud, ending the contest for good. When the air finally clears, the scene shows the coward fallen and our kid standing tall. From a distance, Sister Eve and the brute Damien are speechless at the shocking result. Calm footsteps echo on the broken stones as the youngest walks towards his rival's body. The giant sword at the trash's face. The hero says he has no intention of taking his life there. Straight up, the MC demands the defeated brother's immediate surrender. Scar admits defeat and agrees to hand over his own demonic core as the prize. But the hero's eyes catch a strange movement at the last millisecond. In a dirty, cowardly trick, a hidden dagger flies straight for the kid's neck. A manic and desperate smile, the raidhead bets his last chip on this betrayal. All too agile, our boy just turns his head, letting the blade graze past him without causing any damage. Surprised by the dirty move, the sister and the giant's eyes widen at the ultimate cowardice. Mad with rage, the villain screams that he will never bow his head to trash like the youngest. Swearing he won't let the brat reach the top, he charges for the final strike but is met with a clean cut in return. Blood splatters on the cold stone as the coward collapses to his knees, letting out an ugly groan. Desperate, the purple-haired girl shouts her brother's name, thinking the worst has happened. The armored man then takes a step forward with a grim face, ready to intervene in the carnage. Refusing defeat, the redhead raises the dagger and charges for another suicidal attack, screaming that the show ends here. In a dry and lethal response, the hero's shining sword tears through the traitor's chest, splattering blood in the air. Powerless, the villain falls backward onto the cracked floor and finally passes out for good, ending the brawl. Covered in injuries, Scar spits red liquid, paying the price for his own arrogance. The entire mansion courtyard falls into absolute silence after the chaos ends. Holding the wound on his shoulder, our kid reflects that this family's blind pride always speaks louder than life. Facing his brother's body lying there, he takes a deep breath to calm the battle's adrenaline. The sister runs to the combat area, asking how the youngest endured all that madness. Blunt and sincere, the giant says the cut was fatal and no doctor would arrive in time, so he'll handle the problem himself. Without wasting a second, the girl invokes a wicked green aura and kneels next to the dying man. Through the first form of the shadow flower, she focuses all her healing energy on the redhead's open wound. Through the magic of the nebulous lantern, the emerald light envelopes the coward's body, preventing his soul from escaping. Miraculously, the bleeding stops and the scumbag's skin regains some color. Impressed by the spell, the hero watches the scene, slowly sheathing his sword. But with a tired smile, the girl says she may be bad at fighting, but she knows very well how to extract a demonic core. In a good mood, the kid thanks her for saving the trash's life, but the woman draws his attention to something else. With a quick gesture, she indicates that the prize of victory now belongs by absolute right to the youngest. A pulsating red energy sphere floats right above the defeated villain's chest. Focused on the shining sphere, the hero murmurs the name of that immense power. Step by step, he approaches the prize in the middle of the destroyed arena while his sister just watches. With a firm hand, the boy grabs the scarlet energy, feeling the pure force pulse between his fingers. Immediately, the dark heat invades his body, spreading purple and golden rays everywhere. At that moment, the system screen pops up in the kid's vision, confirming the absorption was a success. According to the magical data, his demonic core jumps from 2 to 5 stars, an absurd leap in category. Astonished, the MC reflects that this instant evolution is equivalent to dozens of years of brutal training. Back to reality, the hero looks away and notices that the main brawl has calmed down. Suddenly, the blonde man rushes into the courtyard, desperately looking for the sibling duo. Standing in shock, the bodyguard admits he never imagined seeing the brat take down the stuck-up redhead. Full of concern, the blonde man checks on the girl's condition, but she says the giant stepped in at the right time. Facing the brute, the blonde man gives a silent thanks, while the other replies that he was just upholding the family's laws. To break the mood, a butler in a suit appears at the broken gate, drawing everyone's attention. With sharp eyes, the hero and the giant face the messenger, sensing that the peace will be short-lived. Even the rescue duo turns apprehensively to listen to the well-dressed man's message. With a deep voice, the armored man praises the fight and confesses he's super curious about the bizarre nature of that hidden power. Turning his back, the giant says the conversation is now directly with the old man and clears the path for the messenger. With a respectful bow, the butler informs them that the great patriarch requires the boy's presence immediately. The scene cuts directly to the terrifying and massive castle of the Dasker lineage's supreme leader. Inside the luxurious office, the old monster comments on the rumor of the victory and the energy theft. With his chin resting on his hands, the leader casts a deadly look to confirm if the story is fact or fiction. Without blinking and with a straight posture, our MC replies that he won the battle and took the prize by right. Curious, the old man asks for the rival's real level, and the boy admits his brother easily won in almost every attribute. With a sharp gaze, the monster questions how on earth the youngest crushed someone more experienced and powerful. Silence fills the room for a few seconds as the hero formulates the perfect answer. With a hand on his chest, the kid declares that his uncontrollable thirst for power made the difference, as defeat is not an option. With a sadistic smile, the supreme leader praises the successor's audacity and wickedness in his response. The patriarch explains that the redhead crossed an unforgivable line, and therefore, the youngest deserves a prize for cleaning house. Full of authority, the old man tells the boy to ask for whatever he wants, and the MC immediately demands a trip to a specific location. Frowning, the old man finds it strange and questions his lack of greed, since a true winner would ask for mountains of gold or legendary weapons. In a serious tone, our MC says the reward he seeks is much greater than material possessions. Intrigued, the old monster understands it's all about the quest for raw power and asks for the destination of the trip. Through the Rocky Mountains, a carriage travels at high speed, taking our hero to his new objective. During the journey, the boy confirms to the maids that the trip is the official reward, but warns them they're not there on vacation. He asks the girls to relax and leave any problems that arise to him. The servants promptly agree, trusting their own safety in their master's hands. Suddenly, one of the girls lets out a surprised shriek while looking out the wooden window. Amazed, the two of them point to the horizon, announcing that their final destination has finally appeared. Observing the landscape, our MC murmurs that they've arrived in the legendary city forged by the alliance between humans and dragons. Majestic and imposing, the city of Draconia rises amidst the mountains like a true fortress. As soon as the carriage stops, our hero questions the identity of the lizard-faced guards blocking the path. With a firm stance, the scaled warriors introduce themselves as the official envoys of the kingdom. The guards immediately take the front line to guide the group safely to the gates. Just then, the boy's sharp gaze catches some suspicious movement coming from the bushes. As cool as ice, he maintains his posture, just waiting for the threat to reveal itself. Chatting with the scaled captain, the MC comments that the escort's presence is a great help on the way. Without any warning, a giant monster plumbed the trees, roaring that it has found the target from the Dasker family. With absurd weight, the beast lands, kicking up dust and cracking the dirt ground. Right behind the leader, a whole band of red, horned augurs emerges from the shadows, thirsty for blood. Drawing his sword, the lizard guard recognizes the enemy clan and asks the young master to step back. With his blade already in hand, the hero listens as the captain explains that these beasts fight for territorial control in the entire region. Basically, the Scarlet race lives only for violence and conflict, while the people of Draconia try to maintain order at all costs. Sizing up the situation, the boy understands that the monsters came specifically to disrupt the family's alliance. To avoid casualties, he turns his head and orders the maids to lock themselves in the carriage immediately. With heavy steps, the monstrous leader scoffs upon seeing that the scaled escort has already taken a beating. Full of swagger, the brute says he doesn't waste time on small fry and tells the boy to go home alive. Faced with the cheap provocation, our MC just flashes a smile full of irony. Unleashing his mixed aura of lightning, he throws the exact same words back, telling the beast to scram if it doesn't want to become mincemeat. Stung by the insult, the ogre cracks its knuckles, calling the opponent an arrogant brat. Releasing a brutal red energy, the monster swears to grind our hero's bones to dust. Immobile amidst the gust of power, the boy adjusts his stance, waiting for the imminent impact. In an absurd collision, the hero raises his energy blade to block the charge head-on. Its giant fist, the beast brings down a merciless hammer blow towards the target. The heavy strike shatters the ground, kicking up a dense curtain of rock and dirt everywhere. The immense hole it created makes the ridiculous brute force of that scarlet monster obvious. Spinning in the air like an acrobat, the hero dodges the destructive punch by a hair. Completely frustrated at hitting air, the ogre lets out a roar of rage that shakes the ground. Tearing out an entire chunk of the pavement, the beast hurls the boulder at our boy. Without missing a beat, the kid invokes the first divine form, firing a flash of light and darkness. In the blink of an eye, the beam crosses the air and disintegrates the flying rock into 1,000 pieces. Using the dust as a shield, the monster advances, fist clenched, locking its sights on its prey. With a swift right cross, the creature tries to erase the boy from existence once and for all. The punch is so strong that the shockwave shakes even the trees around the road. Blocking the attack, the MC scoffs at the monster's strength, calling its movement sloppy. In a teaching moment, the hero says that relying purely on violence is useless and quickly creates space with a push. Boiling with hatred, the big guy calls the boy a fool for accepting hand-to-hand combat. With a massive leap, the beast prepares an aerial smashing blow to flatten the enemy on the ground. But our MC acts faster and delivers a deep slash straight up the monster's chest. Immediately, an explosion of holy light accompanies the blade, tearing through the big guy's thick skin. Spitting dark blood, the ambush leader falls face first into the mud, completely disabled. As cool as ice, the boy looks over his shoulder and summons the rest of the band for the carnage. Up on the cliff, the Scarlet Goons freeze in fear upon seeing the humiliating beating their chief took. Driven by instinctive fury, the horde roars in unison and descends the mountain to avenge the defeat. An avalanche of muscles and horns, they leap directly towards our warrior. Without losing his smile, the boy channels the second form of the divine power, concentrating energy at the tip of his sword. In a lightning-fast shot, a colossal golden beam obliterates the entire troop, turning the monsters to ash in mid-air. Completely toasted, the beast's bodies plummet from the cliff, hitting the dry earth hard. Shocked, the Draconia guards admit that the here's brute force surpassed even the craziest legends. Relieved, the maids come out of hiding, praising the fight, while the boy lightly scolds them for their disobedience. Full of charm, the servant justifies her stubbornness by saying that the duty of a good companion is to witness the master's victories. Changing focus, the hero raises his head to the sky and summons the last hidden spectator to come down from the clouds. Promptly, a gigantic winged creature obeys the command and begins to descend, cutting through the wind. Beating its heavy wings, the winged being lands with great elegance in the middle of the dirt road. With long strides, an elite warrior approaches, exuding pure military power from head to toe. With a raspy voice, the knight states that he closely analyzed every move of the boy's combat technique. Placing a hand on his chest, the scaled big guy formally introduces himself as the commander of the kingdom's protection forces. Sharply, our MC questions his reason for staying out of the fight, receiving the twisted answer that a king doesn't need to save weaklings. Satisfied with the audacity, the boy flashes a smile and asks if he just passed a surprise endurance test. Maintaining his intimidating pose, the captain confirms his approval and takes on the mission of guiding them all to Lord Alcardos. After the whole commotion, the carriage finally crosses the main gates and enters the bustling streets of the big city. Enchanted, the maids watch through the window as humans and lizardmen peacefully trade goods at the same stalls. A little further on, a group of children of different races runs free, playing with toy swords in a surreal atmosphere of peace. Admiring the view from the window, the hero suggests the girls take the day off tomorrow to enjoy the entire metropolis. Through the bright blue sky, flying dragons accompany the convoy's journey, escorting the carriage to the highest peak. Leaving the sun behind, the team enters the dark stone corridors carved directly into the raw rock, heading towards the main fortress. Before the colossal door marked with a dragon symbol, the group parks in the dark, just waiting for the next step. Raising his lantern, the scaled captain announces loudly and formally that he has brought Master Noo there. Suddenly, the stone crest lights up with a mysterious magical glow, and a deep voice echoes, telling the group to enter. With a heavy rumble, the gigantic doors open on their own, revealing the absolute darkness of the main hall. Immediately, a gust of raw energy escapes from within, hitting the entire team with violence. Firm on the ground, the MC feels the crushing pressure and mentally admits that this power equals or even surpasses the strength of his father's monster. Unable to withstand the pressure, the elite lizard guards collapse to their knees, subjugated by the heavy atmosphere of the place. Terrified, the maids seek refuge behind the hero's back, who stands like a true wall. Inside the frightening darkness of the castle, only two luminous blue eyes shine, staring at the visitors with intensity. Impressed by the overwhelming presence, the kid raises his head just as the sinister voice welcomes them. Finally, a majestic and imposing white dragon reveals itself, bathed in pure light, and calls the boy his young collaborator.